Sciences, Dr. M. Ravichandran, His Excellency Mr. Carlitos Nunes, Ambassador of Timor-Leste to India. We also had the presence of the Principal Secretary of Commerce and safeguarding India's vast ocean frontiers. A very, very warm welcome to all of them. So we have our delegates on dais. I would take this opportunity to begin the session right now. And once again, the request, in case you haven't kept your mobile phones in silent mode, kindly do that. So as we all know, Shri Arun Bothra currently serving as the Additional Director General of Police, Railway and Coastal Security. Known for his strong leadership and technology-driven approach in administration, he headed the Capital Region Urban Transport and turned the state government's Mo Bus initiative into one of the most successful urban mobility models of the country. A big round of applause for that. That is currently the mobility lifeline of the expanded capital region of the state. He also served as Transport Commissioner for the Government of Odisha, during which he spearheaded major reforms and infrastructure projects in road safety. An investigator par excellence, he is a prominent voice in national discourse on community policing and digital transparency, dedicated to building citizen-centric systems through innovation and empathetic governance. It'll be an honor to now request him to deliver the leadership talk. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, that's better. So to start, and I'll quickly run a 3 minutes video to make this an interesting start, I would say. Can we start that, please? Anybody here? Yeah.
Bravo Tango. Mike Papa, this is Bravo Tango. Tini jana macho dhari, ma kali dongare paradip pakhare macho dhorthile. Tini jana macho dhari. Mike Papa, Bravo Tango, Roger. समस्त बहुत ध्यान दियंतु वर्तमान मेसेज जो हमको हेडक्वार्टर मिलथिला से मेसेज हमको कॉपी कर देइछु वर्तमान हम डेस्टिनेशन पोस्ट रे पहुंच जाउछु. All position, this is Sea Lion, message received from Coast Guard. Engine driver, confirm, take parameter.
जेपरी ओडिशा पुलिस जनसाधारणक सुरक्षा दायित्व बहन करिछि, ठीक सेमिति मेराइन पुलिस ओडिशा पुलिस रो अभिन्न अंग भाबरे ओडिशार उपकूल एवं एठारे बास करुथिबा जनसाधारणक सुरक्षा को सुनिश्चित करि आसुछि.
Rescue operation completed. We are proceeding to harbor. Inform PS to stand by ambulance.
यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री मान्यवर श्रीयुक्त नरेंद्र मोदी दूरदर्शिता एवं प्रिय मुख्यमंत्री श्रीयुक्त मोहन चरण माझी मार्गदर्शन रे राज्यर 6 गोटी उपकूलवर्ती जिल्लार प्राय 575 किलोमीटर तटीय क्षेत्र 2009 मसीह प्रतिष्ठित 18टी मेराइन थाना 1200 अधिक प्रशिक्षित पुलिस कर्मचारी द्वारा सुचारू रूपे परिचालित होई आसुछि. एथिसहित मानव संबल थिबा और मानव रहित मोट 16टी द्वीपर सुरक्षा दायित्व मध्य तुलाउछि. मुख्यतः समुद्र पथरे अनुप्रवेश, बेआईन माछधरा, अवैध निशा कारोबार और अन्यान्य कार्यकलाप रोकिबा सह परिवेश रक्षा दिगरे निरंतर कार्य करि आसुछि. एही व्यवस्थार नियंत्रण और परिचालनार गुरुदायित्व बहन करुछि ओडिशा पुलिस कोस्टल सिक्यूरिटी विंग. उपकूल सुरक्षा परिचालन रे तटवर्ती बासिंदांक सहभागिता अपरिहार्य. एणु मेराइन पुलिस जनसाधारणक सह एक भावगत संपर्क स्थापन करी निज कार्य करि चलिछि.
आगु गोटे समय थिला थाना लोक को देखले डर लागुथिला आउ सेमती नाही जले आम संगे लेडीज थाना स्टाफ होथि आईसी मैम तो हमर प्रत्येक प्रॉब्लम को हमर सब शेयर करू आउ अन्य स्टाफ मध्ये हम फ्रेंडली मिसु.
कम्युनिटी पोलिसिंग प्रोग्राम भी करूछु, लोकालिटी को जाईकी ता माध्यम रे हम अवेयरनेस करूछु, कल्चरल प्रोग्राम करूछु, हेल्थ कैंप करूछु, स्पोर्ट्स करूछु.
किछि दिन तळे मेडिकल कैंप करा दितला, आखि आई कैंप करा दितला, मुनि जे आई देखै दिली.
स्वास्थ्य शिविर, विभिन्न खेल प्रतियोगिता, प्रतिभा विकास भली विभिन्न कार्यक्रम करिबा पई प्रत्येक सामुद्रिक थानाକୁ मासिक 2 लाख टंका प्रदान करा जाउछि।
प्रति मासरे क्रिकेट हो फुटबॉल हो टूर्नामेंट करछन्ती तो तेणु करी हम ता साहाय्य माने आ बहुत उपकृत रहबु।
समय सह ताल देई कोस्टल सिक्योरिटी विंग रो पुलिस बाहिनी तटीय सुरक्षा पई सबुबेले तत्पर रहिथिबा बेले एथिरे प्रजुक्ति मध्य एक गुरुत्वपूर्ण भूमिका ग्रहण करुछि। अत्याधुनिक ड्रोन व्यवहार रे अपहंच स्थान गुड़िकर सर्वेक्षण करा जाउछि। फिशिंग जेटी गुड़िकर 24 घंटिया निरीक्षण पई लेटेस्ट टेक्नोलोजी रो सीसीटीवी कैमेरा लगा जिबा सह उन्नत नेविगेशन जीपीएस एवं अत्याधुनिक प्रजुक्ति व्यवहार रे सामुद्रिक सुरक्षा व्यवस्था को करा जाउछि अधिक सुदृढ़। अत्याधुनिक हाई स्पीड बोट एवं ट्रॉलर सामिल करा जाई पेट्रोलिंग व्यवस्था को त्वरान्वित करिबा पई निया जाउछि विशेष पदक्षेप।
सब बोट रे ट्रांसपोर्टर लागि जे कि नहीं सेटा वेरीफाई करछु छि ड्रोन सहायता रे भी हमें सर्विलांस करूछु।
उपकूल सुरक्षार समन्वित नियंत्रण पई भुवनेश्वर ठारे स्टेट ऑफ द आर्ट कमांड एंड कंट्रोल सेंटर रा निर्माण कार्य शेष पर्याय रे पहुंचिछि। कोस्टल सिक्योरिटी विंग स्टेट मैरिटाइम कोऑर्डिनेटर भावरे देश और राज्यर गुरुत्वपूर्ण संस्था मानक सह मिलित भावरे ओडिशार उपकूल सुरक्षा को अधिक मजबूत करुछि। एही उपलब्धि ओडिशा सरकारक विशेष ध्यान और मुक्त पांठी जोगाण जोगु संभव होई पारुछि। देशर सामुद्रिक प्रतिरक्षा कार्य लिप्त इंडियन नेवी कोस्ट गार्ड सह उत्तम समन्वय रक्षा करी आमको निश्चिंत करने सहित तटीय सुरक्षा एवं देशर सार्वभौमत्व रक्षा दिगरे निजर प्रतिबद्धता प्रमाण करि चलिछि कोस्टल सिक्योरिटी विंग।
Thank you everybody. So first of all I want to thank the ministry and BCKIC for organizing this program. For last 1.5 years I am looking after coastal security in Odisha Police, and I am here for last 30 years actually. I come from Rajasthan. हमारे यहाँ समुद्र तो क्या पानी भी पूरा नहीं है उधर, तो there are no rivers also actually, but here I can see water everywhere. So I used to wonder that Odisha has so much of potential, economic potential to progress on this particular score. Gujarat, as we know, I'm sure you people must have talked yesterday. Gujarat has 48 minor ports, I believe we have just 2. Of course, they are on the west coast, but it's not that we cannot have at least 20-30% of that. So I'm thankful that somebody has talked about it, some dialogue has started about it. I used to wonder that why we are not talking about it. So that's one thing I am thankful. Yesterday, all day you might have discussed, people might have spoken about the potential, how to go about it, how to do these things, how to improve and make progress in this regard. But as a person from police and security establishment, today I want to talk about something, and I'm thankful that the organizers decided to talk about security as well. Generally, what we have seen in our, like I am 32 years in service, everything is planned except the police station. You have the cities, you have the sectors, and once the chori wori shuru hota hai, fir bolte hain yaar police to hai nahi idhar. Then they think of the police station or some kind of naka, some kind of chowki. So you have big industrial establishments, the industrial clusters, and then you realize that there are no security, proper security people placed, or maybe a building earmarked for a police station or other security establishments. So I'm thankful also that the organizers decided to have at least one session on this particular aspect. Today I'll be talking about the security part. Of course, my colleagues from our senior organizations, Navy and Coast Guard, they are here. They have much bigger, much important role. But then whatever we are doing in coastal security in Odisha Police or Odisha, that I will just have, because we don't have much time. Quickly, I will tell all of you about that. Can we have the PPT, please? Somebody? No, another PPT. No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. Next. No, another PPT. There's one more, I think. Yeah, this one. So this is, I think everybody can recognize this picture. This is from Iran. This is from Iran. So there cannot be a bigger example and better example to tell why coastal security is, or marine security is important. Today, this Strait of Hormuz, everybody is talking about it. This is water, and it is affecting the world, not only the country, but the world. This is Dubai. So when we talk about, this is what I wanted to tell or make a humble submission. Security is the precondition for any kind of economic development. You have everything in Dubai. When the missiles started raining, now everybody talks that we do not have the enough security establishment, enough security architecture in place. So this is what is my baseline actually to tell that yes, let us talk about coastal security, let us talk about marine development, port development, the area development, economic prosperity, everything which is there, which is potential as I told in the beginning. But then while planning everything, please think about the coastal security, the marine security as well, because this is the prerequisite. And then, this is again, as we know, when we talk about borders, when somebody talk about national borders, you think about Pakistan, Himalayas, Punjab border, China border, but there's a huge border, big porous border, which we have seen, the threat we have seen in Mumbai, 26/11. These people, the Kasab and gang, they came by sea, they captured a trawler, and that's the rest, all of us, we know how things unfolded that day. So this is the reason, all three layers of security. This is, of course, we have huge, the coastline, 11,000 plus kilometers now. So these are the initiatives I will be talking about. Generally, I'll go through it. This is Odisha, because now telling the national, international thing, now I'll be just focusing quickly on the Odisha scenario and our role in that, or whatever we are doing of late. These are the figures, some figures. We have 6 coastal districts. In that we have 18 marine police stations, which are spread across the entire coastline. Then we all know that there are environmental issues, already mangroves, lot of things are there. These are the threats which we perceive, which we understand that you have Puri, you have Konark, you have Chandipur, you have issues of illegal immigrants, which is being talked about, like finally with a lot of seriousness. And we have islands where nobody stays. There are islands where nobody stays. So as the Honorable Prime Minister told on this hall only, 2 years ago in 2024, there was a DGIG conference that we have to think about those islands, that they should not be misused by anti-social or anti-national elements. So we have such islands also, which now we are frequenting more often. We are going there and we are having surveys and we are having some kind of recce on those areas. These are the police stations we have. 18 police stations, as I told you. Sorry. Fortunately, last year, the government, first time, I must convey my thanks to the state government. First time the state government allotted us about 150 crore rupees in the history of Odisha police. We got 150 crore rupees for buying equipment, boats, drones, and a lot of things. Of course, with this money, we could able to make some progress, which I'll be talking about. So we have fast interceptor boats, we have trawlers on rent. These are the mobility part actually. And we have patrolling and rescue boats, and we have all-terrain vehicles. And of course, we are planning to buy more boats, fast interceptor boats, worth about 96 crores this year. So this is, and I must tell you that Odisha is the only state with this kind of budget allotted to marine security. I'll expect a clap for the government for this. Thank you. Then we have, now we have 10 drones in place. We are putting CCTV on we have 73 fish landing centers and fishing harbors practically right now 32 are operational, 28 fish landing center and 4 fishing harbors. And these are the places where actually the real activity takes place in the coastal area. And I would say, like, of course, Navy has a much larger role, much bigger history, much older history and huge assets. Then Coast Guard, also our seniors, they also help us. But the Marine Police is a very new thing actually, very new thing. Since 2009 we have just started. So with that, but we all should understand, and everybody should understand this, we are where the coast meets the community. Because Navy is in the water, high seas, then Coast Guard is there. But we are there where we are there where the coastal communities are there. So the issues are more complex, because somebody coming to our country and staying there, mingling and mixing up with the local populace, we will not know actually. So we have issues there. It's not that, as we understand on the borders, it is like either you have friend or you have the enemy. There's nothing gray in between if somebody you find on the high seas. But here, a lot of gray areas are there. So for that, we need support of the community, and we take the support of the community. We have a lot of community policing program, and they are actually helping us. In fact, let me tell you, I met one person in some fish landing center. He told, sir, हमें बोट का रजिस्ट्रेशन के बारे में नहीं पता, बोट का नंबर क्या है, रजिस्ट्रेशन क्या है, all these things, models also we sometimes we don't know, but we can immediately identify that this boat doesn't belong to us. This is what we actually human intelligence is. We can have drones, we can have CCTV, we can have everything, but ultimately the person on the ground. Now there are hundreds of boats in any fish landing center, but every fisherman can tell you that this boat is not belonging to us. This is not Odisha boat. This is not our boat. Even if they keep changing, they start from one fish landing center, they go to another fish landing center in the evening, then morning they come back, but they know each other. Not only by the language, not only by the looks, but also by the looking at the boat. One person told, sir, boat का आवाज सुन के भी हम पहचान सकते हैं कि ये boat हमारा नहीं है. So that kind of intelligence is actually required to have the secure marine system, marine ecosystem. That's what we are doing also. We have a command control center in place now for the first time. It was never there. We have one command control center by Navy in Chilka, one by Coast Guard in Paradeep. Now in Odisha Police also we have a command control center, which is, again, we are connecting with all these command control centers, including NMDA in Delhi, National Maritime Domain Awareness Program, which is the national level program. So we'll be connecting with them and the data will be flowing both ways. These are the police stations. We are trying to put whatever we can, like, when I visited these police stations initially and asked them what are the issues, they said that हमारे यहाँ humidity बहुत होता है, and our computers, our things, everything gets spoiled in maybe 2 years, 3 years. Even vehicles, they get spoiled very quickly because of the humidity, salinity, and all those kind of things. So we are putting dehumidifiers, we are giving them heavy duty water purifiers, those things, and maybe some like vehicles and everything. We are trying as much as we can. We have, of course, our partners, as I told you, Indian Navy, Coast Guard, NMDA, and Intelligence Bureau. We do exercises also, joint exercises are there, Sagar Kavach, and all these exercises we conduct together. We do things at the ground level and the coast level, they do in the sea, but very useful and very good learning experience for us. Also intelligence sharing, if some ship, somebody coming from Pakistan, China, other states, we know, all of us, we know that somebody is officially coming in a ship, and we have those kind of information sharing mechanisms in place, but of course they need to have more. VHF and those, recently we have procured VHF systems. Now all our boats and all our police stations are connected, and we can, on one side we can communicate with the channel 16, right? Channel 16, which is the marine channel, and of course police stations, and of course our ground network, ground system in Bhubaneswar as well as Cuttack. That's our police headquarters. We have started a very small scale training center in Bhubaneswar now. Our people are actually trained in Chilka and of course by Navy and by Coast Guard. We have a lot of ex-servicemen in our fold, about 150 people who are from ex-Navy or ex-Coast Guard. In fact, we have one retired DIG of Coast Guard as our consultant. He's advisor. He's supporting us and helping us a lot. But now we have to start our own training system also. So we have just started 2 months ago. We have started a small training center, and we hope that maybe in times to come this will become a coastal training academy on the eastern side also, because on the eastern side of the country there is no marine police training academy. Only one is there in Okha, Gujarat, on the west coast, but there is nothing on the east coast. We plan and we visualize that this training center will ultimately evolve into a training academy on the east coast, and which will help not only Odisha but other states also. Safety gears, of course, we have upgraded and better safety gears now and safety equipments. This is very interesting. I would like to tell all of you that state government, again, I'm thankful to them. They have given 2 lakhs rupees each every month to each of my marine police stations. So every month we have 18 marine police stations. Every marine police station is spending 2 lakhs rupees to conduct these programs, which I showed you on the video also, sports and health camps and all those kind of things. Because ultimately, as I told you, the community there, they are the people who can help us in any kind of situations. Like if somebody ventures into our area and skips Navy and Coast Guard, then the only way is the coastal community which can help us. Thank you. This much from my side. Any questions I can take now or later also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shri Bothra, for that very informative and enlightening presentation and your address. We will now move to our next speaker. We have with us Air Commodore Niranjan K. Parhi, a veteran of the Indian Air Force and a founding member of the Defense Cyber Agency, where he played a pivotal role in shaping India's joint cyber warfare capabilities. An expert in strategic communication and electronic warfare, he has been instrumental in architecting national-level cybersecurity frameworks to protect critical defense infrastructure. He's a highly regarded strategist in the realms of information security and hybrid warfare. I'll request him for his address. A big round of applause as we welcome him.
Namaskar, Jai Jagannath. Thank you so much. So I don't want to get tied to this rostrum. I hate getting tied to this rostrum. So first of all, I want to express my deepest gratitude to BCKIC and the Air Force Association to have thought about this least known person in this state of Odisha to bring me to this platform. And thank you BCKIC for giving me a big platform like this. And I would take nearly 15 minutes to showcase what we could do for maritime security. So let me go about this presentation. Yeah. So this is me. This is my presentation outline. I don't want to discuss anything because as we go, we will see the flow. So this is what the vision our Honorable Prime Minister has put. Blue economy is central to India's growth strategy, combining prosperity, sustainability, and national strength. And this was talked just before the India's Maritime Vision seminar or that conclave in October 2025. So before I go there, I just wanted to know what is actually happening in the world. I was, sir also has shown a slide This is what is the impact of the seas, impact of the straits, where one fine day somebody decides to close it and your trade and everything stops to grinding halt, and then you say that my oil price is rising, my gas price is rising. Some countries are folding up, their hotels have told that, companies today have told that bring your own food to office, we can't provide you anything in India. In spite of government telling that yes, we have enough reserve, but there are black marketeers. So the world is in a turmoil, and the turmoil is not today, not yesterday. It is, last 4 years we are seeing this turmoil. And I have some figures, but let's not dwell on it. But I thought I would draw your attention how maritime security is essential to have a play in our lives, and how Odisha is really poised because of its geographical strategic location, far from our enemies. Then it can really give value to our blue economy. So, some fact sheet. All these have been discussed last 2 days, so I will not dwell on them much. But we understand that we are the 6th largest maritime nation, having a coastline of 11,098 kilometers and an EEZ of 2.25 million, 2.37 actually million to be accurate, square kilometers. And last 2 years, Paradip port is handling, our own port in Odisha is handling the highest or largest amount of traffic volume. So this is also a feather in our cap that Odisha is leading from the front in handling because of a lot of automation they have done in last 2 to 3 years. And coming back to the strategy, this has also been talked about, that Maritime India Vision 2030 and Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047. These are two big timelines. We will achieve a lot of things during this, and we are talking about Sagar to Mahasagar. Sagar by 2030 and Mahasagar. Mahasagar is mutually and holistic advancement of security and growth across region by 2047. So vision layout is really great, but efforts to reach there is also essential. So Odisha also wants to play its own role. So this is Odisha's history and the way we can take Odisha further. So coastline 570 kilometers, we got a history of 2,500 years old. Our sailors were traveling to Java, Sumatra, Bali, and that's why Bali Jatra is a very famous festival over 10 days period in Odisha. And we got 6 coastal districts, as Arun Bothra sir told, and each coastal district is also having a lot of maritime police stations. So the vision is to take from 3 major ports to 14 major ports in 2047. So that's a big ask. And I will show you something else. This is what is the coastline. If you look at the coastline, hardly there is any other place where we are missing out the coverage of our ports. So this is the list, but there are 14 of them in the plan. So this is the big picture. I am trying to deconstruct this big picture. Odisha's present GDP or state GDP is 150 billion US dollars. They want to, we by 2036, where Odisha completes 100 years of its existence, it is supposed to be 1 trillion, and by 2047, it will be 1.5 trillion. As Satya sir yesterday told, this is a big ask, unbelievably high. But if you don't think for the stars, then you will achieve lesser than what is moon also. So what I'm saying, the vision has to be really high. And therefore, if you go towards this, then we will have a port capacity which will increase by 4 times, number of ports from 3 to 14, and employment generation. This figure I quoted took from yesterday's plan of given by the secretary himself. He says 20 lakh people will get employment. However, Maritime Amrit Kal Vision 2047 of India gives this figure of 20 lakh. But yesterday he gave the maths how Odisha will only have 20 lakh employment generation. So this is the big picture. So how to safeguard? Naturally, when such big things are happening, how to safeguard? So I have, first you should safeguard the threats. So I have brought in one slide, try to bring out what are the potential threats. If you divide them into two, kinetic and non-kinetic, then again subdivide them kinetic to natural and man-made and non-kinetic to natural and man-made, there are large number of threats. I don't want to read all of them, but what I wanted to say is there are many, many threats to the security in maritime domain. And if Odisha or India wants to be there and give sustainable services to achieve the blue economy, then we got to look after these threats. So threats will be always there. Okay, but to mitigate them is very essential. So how do we mitigate? So I carried out a SWOT analysis. It's a very good way to divide and find out. So we said threats are geopolitical, non-state actors, environmental climate risks, illegal activities, and over-commercialization. These are the threats. So I will bring two essential aspects of how we in military do threat mitigation. We carry out something called OODA loop. It's mostly used in armed forces, Air Force, and Op Sindur was a success of a robust implementation of this loop. So I will not go here because OODA loop is basically trying to shrink, observe, orient, decide and act. We have to do this in a very cohesive and shortest possible manner. So we got to get something called technology. AI, ML, data science. We have to bring all of them to our observation, our analysis and everything. So how do you do? So these are all a few points. Let me just only dwell on this point called multidimensional, multimodal, multi-layered defense in depth security architecture. It will take time. It is there in the armed forces, but for maritime force it has to take time. It will take time. We have to create defensive architecture to defend against all 5 dimensions: land, sea, air, and space, and cyber. Data security with real-time zero latency data replication. So the data that we are generating for this maritime operations have to be really replicated somewhere else with a geographically separate location. The data has to remain almost real-time. And then we have to have independent data centers for maritime operations. These are my recommendations. I'm not saying who will do it, but if you really want to think about security, you got to do all these things. And you have to build in resilience into your plan. And then you have to have a last point, strong, coordinated, real-time intelligence sharing, which both of us are also told. So these are some points. Whole of a nation approach is required for securing anything to anything. Okay? And you have to build a formidable C4ISR network for maritime defense. And real-time maritime domain awareness is essential. So therefore, we have to create last 3 points that I said, create 2 futuristic 24/7 into 365 maritime operation center. Why 2? Because if one is bombed, one is destroyed, one is attacked, you got a second one, seamlessly transferring everything. Next is carry out a business impact analysis. Nobody, is thinking of how to carry out a business impact analysis. If suddenly Paradip port goes down, what happens next? So please also ensure that an expert in the field is invited to do this, or team of experts. Then also you have to establish a security operations center. This is also an integrated approach. It cannot be piecemeal approach. Security cannot be a piecemeal approach. It has to be an integrated approach to deliver the punch or to defend yourself. So this is my last slide. I'm sorry, I'm running out of time, but these are a key takeaway. If really we want to have a good, great, or excellent maritime security, it has to be there with all the points that was there in my earlier slide. It is the backbone of blue economy. If you want a blue economy, you have to have maritime security. There is no two way about it. And it has to be understood that maritime threats are increasingly multidimensional. I have listed down what all are this thing. But our approach has to be integrated multi-domain security. Integrated. It has to be integrated. The key operative word is integrated. It cannot be piecemeal or in silos. Security cannot be delivered in silos. Defense cannot be delivered in silos. Then Odisha can be, as Sir also has a vision, Odisha can be a strategic maritime growth hub because of its geographically strategic location, opening to Bay of Bengal, and far away from our shorn enemies in our western and northern borders. So security, technology, and governance has to advance together. Without one, the other is meaningless. It is not possible to achieve the synergy that we want to do. So with this, I have finished. I'm sorry, I'm run little ahead of, more than what was given to me. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just to inform, we have a timer running there for all our speakers and our session chairs. So moving on to our next speaker, we have with us Shri Satya Ranjan Das, Deputy Inspector General in the Indian Coast Guard. He has extensive experience in maritime security, search and rescue operations, and marine environmental protection, has led critical missions to safeguard India's vast exclusive economic zone against maritime threats and ecological disasters while strengthening interagency cooperation for maritime safety. I'll request him for his address.
Esteemed speakers on stage, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. At the outset, let me take this opportunity to thank Dr. Mrityunjay Suwar and the Bhubaneswar City Knowledge Innovation Cluster Foundation for choosing this contemporary topic of maritime security and safeguarding India's blue frontier. As we have seen the presentations happening, two presentations before me by esteemed speakers, so I will be concentrating on a slightly different path of a conceptual level. And as part of my presentation, I shall be dwelling on the concept of blue frontiers, the trends and Anthropocene, the securitization of blue economy, and Indian Coast Guard and the blue frontier, and how the blue frontier is defining the maritime security. Before I start my presentation, let me start with a quote attributed to the Greek philosopher Aristotle. There are three sorts of people: the living, the dead, and those who are at sea, unquote. Ladies and gentlemen, we know since ancient times the ocean claims have been for food, material, and space. However, the claiming of the ocean for food, material, and space is not new. But what we have seen in the recent days, that there has been a rush for the ocean. There is a rush which is fueled by the technological advances and by the drivers which are on the outer circle. This unprecedented intensity is often referred to as the blue acceleration. If we see the data points flashed on the screen, there has been exponential rise in the ocean utilization and the ocean resource utilization since the last 20 years. This has given rise to the new ocean reality.
The wild capture of the fishing has increased by 87% over the last 25 years. However, in the last couple of years, we have been seeing a decreasing trend in wild cats. There has been a massive twofold increase in farming of aquatic organisms. Nutraceuticals is estimated to be about $22 billion in 2025. However, some figures represent it at a very higher figure of $385 billion, but gross estimate says it is about $22 billion in 2025. The offshore use, extraction of the hydrocarbons, it constitutes about 30% of the current output, and nearly 70% of the major discoveries of the hydrocarbons since 2020 have been offshore. The trends in the offshore global production of hydrocarbons indicates that the production is consistently moving to greater depths. There has been new territories, including in the Arctic, where large reserves are expected. There are vast quantities of hydrates, gas hydrates, which are there in the ocean floor, which represents twice as much organic carbon as world's coal, oil, and other natural gas combined. This has resulted in expansion of blue frontier, as there is a race. We have an ocean claim which has the population of 200 kilometers from the coastline, 40% of the population. There are about 12 to 15 megacities of the world which are coastal, and 80% of the trade and 70% by value are estimated to use maritime transport. More than 1.3 million kilometers of undersea cables carry 99% of international telecommunication, and nations are increasingly now resorting to large-scale reclamation, which is extending the coastline and the claim lines. There are large majority of the turbines, wind farms, solar farms, and desalination plants, which are close to the shore. There is a possibility of open ocean for power generation. They are being explored by the advanced nations. So, what is happening to the blue frontiers? So, there is a race. We are a race to claim by the nations to the most remote areas. We are also, blue economy is driving the territorial claims. There is a greater focus on the military activities and the geopolitics. There is we are now predicting future by extrapolating the current trends is becoming notoriously uncertain. And there are also nascent ideas like the floating cities and autonomous maritime transport, underwater hydroponics, and data servers. These are all adding up to the uncertainty matrix. So the ideas, practices, and technologies that are marginal today are likely to become dominant in future. The result is therefore the securitization of blue economy from purely economic framework to a strategic framework for ensuring safety, sustainability, and sovereignty. So the benign economic activities have progressively moved to contestation zones and more recently have become sovereign and non-negotiable. When we examine the maritime security matrix, the national security, safety of life, marine environment, and the economic development forms the four quadrants. When we start populating the quadrants, the left side of the quadrant represents the blue economy. They can also be further populated, but I have restricted to the major portions here. The entire gamut is now brought under one umbrella, which is called as the blue frontiers. So, if you understand any student of the international relations, they can relate it properly. So, there are always actors in any multidimensional construct. The actors in the maritime security, they constitute the securitizing actors. The securitizing actors can enforce, implement, and change policies. They are the government, the armed forces like the Coast Guard and the Navy, the police, the other organizations like the customs, immigration, and the intelligence agencies. There are also the functional actors. The functional actors are the citizens, they are the coastal communities, and the business entities, NGOs, think tanks. Now, in order to have a robust coastal security mechanism, the securitizing actors must have a willingness to pay, formulate, and implement laws, whereas the functional actors should have the willingness to accept, influence, and suggest policies. The genesis of an Indian Coast Guard as a securitizing actor stems from the requirement which is recognized by the government for a separate maritime armed force. This was due to the rise in smuggling and anti-poaching, the proclamation of the EEZs, and protection of offshore development areas. So on 1st February 1977, the Indian Coast Guard was constituted under the Ministry of Defense with 7 ships seconded from other organizations. The Indian Coast Guard charter, it originates from the obligations to international conventions and the national laws. The Indian Coast Guard is empowered by the Government of India for law enforcement and rule-based orders, good order at sea, as per the Coast Guard Act 1978. As the years passed through, the service grew, and the decades passed, new responsibilities were added, delegated to the Indian Coast Guard, as it's flashed on the screen. The Government of India promulgated the baseline coordinates and claimed the maritime zones of India in 2009, with the internal waters of 1.18 lakh square kilometers, territorial waters and contiguous zone of 1.94 lakh square kilometers each, and exclusive economic zone, massive exclusive economic zone of 2.1 million square kilometers. If we analyze the India's strategic position, so we are saddled between the global hotspots to the east as well as to the west. In the maritime arena, the sea lanes of communication are passing close to the coast. There are sensitive bioreserves of the islands, where the shipping which passes close to the coast are of international nature. We have an unstable neighborhood, and the recent occurrences in Gulf strengthens this position of ours, that we are living in a much unstable and unpredictable atmosphere. Among the comparison of the littorals, India has got 26% of the EEZ among the littorals of Indian Ocean region. This huge EEZ area requires active ICG presence at all times. Now, there are coastal infrastructures, major coastal infrastructures along the coast. There are about 12 major and 203 minor ports, and there are a large number of non-major ports are yet to implement the credible security plans. Recently, the Government of India has nominated CISF to also man these non-major ports all along the coastline. However, this is going to take some time. The Sagarmala initiative has incorporated new trade protocol routes, and there has been an increase in traffic and threats subsequent to the Sagarmala initiative also. There are a large number of vital installations along the coastline, 3 largest cities, nuclear plants, offshore installations, defense areas, and satellite launch pads are also located close to the coast. The Indian Coast Guard maritime strategy focuses on a graduated approach leading to focused ops matrix, with the coastal security, int-based operations, and international maritime boundary line operations being the major focus areas. The dynamic threat perception is analyzed, keeping in focus the synergy between the stakeholders and asset availability vis-a-vis the risk. The risk is then managed, results are measured, and lessons are imbibed. In order to have a gap-free surveillance, the coastal security network was conceived and being implemented in phases. As part of phase 1, 46 radar stations have been established all along the coastline. Additional 38 radar stations have been established in phase 2, and there are 4 mobile satellite systems, mobile surveillance systems which have been procured to deal with the contingencies. The standard Coast Guard presence in a day at sea comprises of 18 to 20 ships, 30 to 35 crafts, and 10 to 12 aircrafts on continuous patrol along the EZ and in our area of responsibility. Now let's dwell upon the blue economy and the maritime security and what lies ahead. Now let me take back to the ocean claims. The ocean claims are in the 3 domains: the undersea domain, the sea surface domain, and the contiguous domain which is along the coastline. Hence, the blue frontier is encompassing the entire domain from the seabed to space. The seabed claims will also see small islands being transformed to become large ocean states. There are overlapping ocean claims. It will add to extra dimension to the maritime scenario. There are also sovereign rights over the maritime space. This is due to the extension of the continental shelf, and it is likely to transform the geopolitical landscape. So what we need, this contestation would require enhanced maritime security imperatives. We know that the insecurity impedes blue economy, and the blue crimes also undermines the economic activity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, law enforcement is a very costly business. The blue economy needs to fund the maritime security, and also the data from the maritime activities also aids in the maritime security operations. So what is the need of the hour is a comprehensive domain awareness. The multi-agency collaborative approach which is now being followed needs to have a single regulatory organization. Maritime security should also include the internal waters as well as the ocean domain. Now to summarize, the blue economy and maritime security are 2 sides of the same coin. Maritime security deals with the threat to ocean, whereas the blue economy refers to the sustainable use of the oceans. Blue economy needs maritime security. We need law enforcement, surveillance. Then insecurity also affects the economy, and the crimes is also blue crimes also affects maritime activity. The maritime security also needs blue economy. Economy needs to be funded. The economic activity also enhances employment. It reduces the crime, and economic activity feeds data to maritime security operations. At the end, let me quote Jane Lubchenko, the famous environmental scientist and the marine ecologist, the former administrator of National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. The ocean is neither too big to fail, nor too big to fix, but it is too big and too central to our future to ignore, unquote. Thank you so much. I have finished.
Thank you so much, Sridas, for that wonderful presentation and ending it with such an apt quote. A big round of applause for our session chair and our speakers. Without any further delay, we would like to take this opportunity to felicitate them. So I'll request Dr. Mrityunjay Suha, Chairman, BCKIC, to please join on stage and do the honors and present mementos to our session chair and our speakers. So to our session chair, Shri Arun Bothraji. Additional Director General of Railways and Coastal Security in Odisha. We are very privileged to have you here with us today. To Air Commodore Niranjan K. Parhi, former founding member, Defense Cyber Agency, Ministry of Defense. And also to Shri Satyaranjan Das, Deputy Inspector General, Indian Coast Guard. And of course, a group photograph before we move to our next session. So I'll request our esteemed dignitaries to kindly step forward for the group photograph. I'll request Dr. Namrata Mishra, COB, BCKIC, to also join on stage for the group photograph. Thank you. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move to the next session, we would like to extend a very warm welcome to Consul General, Australian Consulate, Kolkata, Mr. Bernard Lynch, who has already joined us. He'll be a part of the next session. So very warm welcome to you, sir. And he's going to be a part of the next session as well. So we will just quickly take a minute to set the stage. And then we start with the session. This one is titled Partnerships for a Net Zero Ocean Economy. The session will explore how international cooperation, science diplomacy, and clean energy initiatives can accelerate the transition towards sustainable ocean-based economies. Our session chair is Shri Upendra Tripathi, former Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. And our panelists are Mr. Bernard Lynch, Consul General, Australian Consulate, Kolkata, Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director, NRSC, ISRO, and we have Dr. Commander P.K. Srivastav, Advisor, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and Mr. Arun Thekedat, Senior Advisor, Science, Technology and Innovation, Netherlands Innovation Network. So warm round of applause as we invite all our dignitaries on dais. And as they take their time to settle down, I'll briefly introduce each one of them. Shri Upendra Tripathi is the former Secretary to the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Founding Director General of the International Solar Alliance with over 3 decades of administrative experience. He has been a global architect in scaling solar energy initiatives and advancing sustainable development policies across numerous countries. Mr. Bernard Lynch is the Consul General of Australia in Kolkata and a career diplomat with the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. He has served in several diplomatic missions globally, plays a key role in strengthening Australia's diplomatic trade and strategic engagement across East and Northeast India. We have with us Dr. Prakash Chauhan, the Director of the National Remote Sensing Center, ISRO, with over 3 decades of experience in satellite remote sensing and geospatial science. He has contributed significantly to space-based Earth observation system and disaster management support. We have Dr. Commander P.K. Srivastava, an advisor in Scientist G at the Ministry of Earth Sciences, a retired commander of the Indian Navy and an expert hydrographer. He supervises national programs in marine sciences, coastal research, and ocean information services. We also have with us Mr. Arun Thekedat, Senior Advisor for Science, Technology, and Innovation at the Netherlands Innovation Network. He works extensively on Indo-Dutch collaborations in circular economy, bioenergy, and sustainable technology partnerships. I'll now request Shri Upendra Tripathi, former Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, to give the leadership talk and take the session forward from here. A big round of applause as we once again welcome all of them on stage.
Oh, the timer. There's a timer, I'm told. Yes, we will be successful. Well, friends, we have an excellent panel here, a global panel held, and we have structured it like this. I give my opening remarks, and we give the freedom to all the panelists to introduce themselves when they speak, and also to speak on the points they desire to communicate. So far as my opening remarks are concerned, I always start with a prize of 500 rupees. Any one of you who uses a solar watch, very sustainable? No? Nobody gets the prize? Fine.
Watch. No.
And well, if anybody has got this, you can meet me at the end, and I can transfer 500 on the phone pay. But
yeah, from
today,
the ground.
Today, you know, blue economy has really become very popular and very topical. And we talk about ocean economy. The point that I would like to say is my professor told me an anecdote in a university called Carleton in Ottawa, where as a student, And the anecdote was like this. My professor, he went to a Latin American country where he went to the downtown market and found the name of a shop called 50/50. So professor goes and says, gentlemen, what is this 50/50? He says, sir, I'm a startup. I have got a new type of meat. It's a mix of horse meat and chicken. And the name comes from that, 50/50. So my professor bought 1 kilo of meat, went, cooked, ate, and there was no trace of, chicken. So next day he goes, he said to the 50/50 owner, the startup fellow, did you tell me a lie? He says, no, I didn't tell a lie. I always tell the truth. I took one big horse and one big chicken. You understand the ratio. I mixed it, and that's the product. The point my professor used to tell that any economy that we talk about, whether blue or any sort of economy, communication is very critical. And what we speak and what you understand and what others understand, that is very critical. And in the ocean economy, three things, like in classical economics, land, labor, capital, and we add technology, are very critical. But today you find, except underwater life under SDGs, we don't have a dedicated international organization to look after blue economy. Although blue economy, as ocean economy, has become very critical to most countries. But as the importance increases, the question of equity comes in. Will the small island countries which are getting drowned will get access to equity? Will they have equitable access to technologies, to capital, to land which is water here? And that is where I remember Prime Minister telling us in those days when we created International Solar Alliance, we used to ask, look, India doesn't manufacture solar and China is doing it. So why we should try so much for International Solar Alliance? His reply was, at some point, countries have to think of the global, the world thing. So in launching International Solar Alliance, India didn't have an agenda of its own. It developed very good programs of 100 gigawatt, 500 gigawatt. That is to create trust among other countries. Because if we don't do anything in ocean economy and we want to take a leadership, nobody will believe us. So the only point in this limited time, I'm trying to make it that, and my panel members are going to focus, more into details and their expert areas. But we need a coordination of three factors. We call it AII. The actors, the institutions, and the ideas. So if we are drawing up a blue economy agenda for a province in India, or from a local body in India, or for the country as a whole, or for any country in general in the world, and having drawn up those solar roadmaps for member countries of Solar Alliance, that founding director general, I understand how critical and important it is to do such a thing. But that is where the role of such conferences come in. The prominent speakers who come to the stage and talk about, this is all in the direction of developing this AII model. It's not AI model, AI plays an important role though, but how this a common platform of actors, institutions, and ideas will help all member countries in future, or all member countries of the UN. Those who have ocean economies, large or small, must be enabled to have access to affordable equity. Because without sustainable finance, without sustainable access to land and technologies, it will be very critical. The other day, I went to a New Jersey Institute of Technology in New York, New Jersey actually, and the gentleman was printing a 3D panel in a solar panel, a 3D printer. And I just wanted to know, what are you doing with this? And the gentleman is trying to work in the area called Shockley barrier, which says solar panels can only produce to the efficiency level of 1/3. He is trying to make it 2/3 by using quantum dots, nanoparticles and all that. Look at the area of research. And another professor in Austin, he is developing an ocean technology where by sheer use of basalt stone powder, you can enhance the absorption of CO2 from the atmosphere into ocean water. Now, technologies are going to be varied, and the single point to repeat again, we need new types of institutions to enable UN members to have access to technology, access to capital, access to land. And I'm thankful to Mrutyunjay at a personal level and the institution in particular for having conveyed these global platforms where people come, discuss, and this is going to be the basis for the future ocean economies that we are cherishing today. Thank you. Now I have requested my panel members to introduce themselves and give the points they would like to make, except that one request I have made, that if we are talking about startups now, I started with that startup 50-50. So they would also emphasize from their organization, from their country, how they can actually promote a culture, an ecosystem of startups, which is very relevant for this global conference here, because we can talk and go, but a startup that comes, that captures the future. Thank you.
Yeah, the sequence.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much to our esteemed moderator and all of you here. I'm delighted to be here today at this very important conference. Particular thanks to the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor of India, the Government of Odisha, and of course the Bhubaneswar City Knowledge Innovation Cluster for the invitation kindly extended to myself to attend today. This summit, as we all know, covers some vital issues for all of us: how sustainable ocean use can support local communities, economic growth, climate resilience, and more. And of course, I caught the tail end of the previous discussion, and as our colleagues in the Indian Armed Forces would be aware, we have excellent and developing cooperation between India and Australia in the maritime security space as well, and that's highly valued by Australia based on a recognition of many shared interests we have. The issues of sustainable ocean use and all the issues that flow from that are just as relevant for Australia as they are for India. A healthy ocean is critical to Australia's environment, economy, and well-being. To give you a sense of this significance for Australia, of course, as you know, we're a continent, and our ocean territory, of course, is even larger. In fact, our marine area is the third largest in the world, and we protect more ocean than any other country on Earth. 85% of our population, our modest population of 27 million, lives within 50 kilometers of the ocean. All our major cities are on the coast, and more of Australia's gross domestic product is connected with oceans than with agriculture. In fact, Australia's blue economy generates over 200 billion Australian dollars each year in economic output and supports more than 700,000 jobs in a country with a population of 27 million, so quite significant. Being an island, aspects of our blue economy contribute to our food security, fisheries and aquaculture, trade and access to global supply chains, hence the vital need for the security of our sea lines of communication and trade, and other things. Australia's credentials should come in the areas of ocean, should come as no surprise then. We take a holistic approach to managing and developing our blue economy and our ocean environment. The Australian Institute of Marine Science is a world leader in tropical marine search. That's based out of the James Cook University in Townsville in Queensland. Its Strategy 2040 maps Australia's research and development needs to ensure an inclusive and sustainable blue economy. And I'm pleased to note that James Cook University, which hosts this institute, concluded an MOU with the government of Odisha just in December and will commence a very ambitious program of cooperation with Odisha's very fine oceanic research institutes, which will include exchanges of academics and shared research and data. So that will be, I think, an excellent way to carry forward this cooperation. CSIRO, which is our Commonwealth Scientific Industrial Research Organization, our leading scientific body, the AquaWatch program leverages space-based satellites and ground sensors to provide near real-time monitoring and forecasting for coastal and inland waters. CSIRO's Ending Plastic Waste mission recently modeled the behavior of plastic on the ocean floor to better inform efforts to prevent plastic waste from getting into our oceans. And we know the pollution of our oceans is indeed a major issue. Our Blue Economy Cooperative Research Centre is an Australian government funded centre. This draws in government, industry and research partners, and it's similar to the Indian science and technology clusters. The Blue Economy Cooperative Research Centre is progressing several projects to support sustainable seafood production and the deployment of offshore renewable energy technologies. Our chief scientist in Australia is in fact Professor Tony Haymett, who is in fact an oceanographer. And he remembers very fondly his extensive links with India, including with institutes like the Indian National Institute of Oceanography. So we have many, many natural touch points with India in this regard. We're also, and Dr. Upendra mentioned, we're also very much focused on blue economy related startups. We're home to several pioneering organizations and startups focused on sustainable ocean use, ranging from seaweed bioplastics to autonomous underwater robotics. Let me just unpack a little bit the bilateral engagement we have with India. So as I said, Australia and India have many similarities. We face many challenges together and many shared interests when it comes to the blue economy. Both our countries have vast coastlines that must sustain our respective communities. Like India, Australia is developing a holistic approach. We released recently the Sustainable Oceans Plan, in fact, last year. This plan sets out our long-term vision for our oceans to 2040. It identifies national priorities and activities to grow our ocean-based economy and protect our precious marine environment. As we well know, many of the threats to the ocean are transboundary, so we can't be islands, if you like, in addressing ocean-related challenges. Cooperation is critical, and Australia is deeply committed to that cooperation with India and with other littoral states. One of the benefits of developing a national sustainable oceans plan, therefore, is an opportunity to share our experience and expertise on sustainable ocean management and to learn from one another. I'm pleased in this sense to see Australian and Indian tertiary institutions step up their engagement. Last week, the University of Western Australia signed an MOU with the science and technology clusters here in Bhubaneswar. University of Western Australia is based out of Perth, which is on the coast of the Indian Ocean, as you well know. And it has a world's leading oceanic institute with expertise in marine and ocean engineering. And we're looking forward to what this cooperative arrangement with India's science and technology clusters can achieve together. And as I already mentioned, James Cook University, which sits on the doorstep of Australia's Great Barrier Reef on the other coast of Australia, the Pacific coast. This is one, as I said, one of the top-ranked universities in marine biology and is partnering with the Odisha's Marine Biology Research and Innovation Corridor will be doing work on the Bay of Bengal. So how can we support net zero ambitions? The ocean and climate, of course, as we know, are intrinsically linked. Rising temperatures presents one of the greatest threats to ocean health and the growth of our sustainable ocean economies. At the same time, the ocean does and can continue to significantly contribute to addressing climate change. The Australian government is investing in both these endeavours. I just say, before I conclude, I just want to add that in addition to the bilateral cooperation that we enjoy, Australia is very engaged, like India, in multilateral international fora, such as the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. We are a founding signatory of the UN High Seas Biodiversity Treaty and are playing a leadership role in the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution. We share many interests in this space. So I'll stop there and hand over to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Can I have the slides, please? Good morning to all of you. My name is Prakash Chauhan, and I come from Indian Space Research Organization, and I'm currently Director of National Remote Sensing Center at Hyderabad. And I would like to speak that how space technology, helps building the blue economy, and how we can use this vantage point of space to achieve net zero goals. So first and foremost, let me thank Dr. Mrityunjay ji, as well as Office of PSA for giving this opportunity to me to come over here and share my views. Yeah. So when it comes to sorry, can you put it again? Can you put the presentation in? Okay, thank you. So when it comes to, India's ocean economy, there are facets which has been talked about. I will not touch upon that, but essentially, we are talking about ocean resources, which are living and non-living. We are talking about mangroves. We are talking about coral reefs. We are also talking about, the renewable energy components. We are also concerned about the climate aspects, and of course, the carbon sequestration, which is the most important thing which we, which is the topic of this particular panel discussion. Now, as we heard that India's coastline has now, we found that using space technology and high resolution satellite data from 7,500 kilometers, now it has been remapped at around 11,000 kilometers or so. And we have an exclusive economic zone also, which is almost 2.37 million square kilometers. But equally, when we talk of developing this entire sector, we also have large amount of challenges. And the concept of blue economy itself is to develop, the economic sectors around the coastal areas and high seas, but keeping the environmental concern and sustainability into mind. So in that context, climate change is also becoming a very important aspect. As just now the previous speaker talked, the seas are becoming warmer, which is leading to the sea level rise. And space-based systems, have been traditionally used to quantify the sea level rise globally. There are instruments called, altimeters, which has been used to make centimeter level accurate estimations of the sea level rise world over. The another very important aspect are the ocean biological systems, which are driven by microscopic organisms called phytoplanktons. And these phytoplanktons, even though they are microscopic elements, they absorb the atmospheric CO2 for photosynthesis purpose and removes the atmospheric carbon, and permanently some of this carbon goes and get detached and deposited into the ocean bed. So the oceans are the natural absorber of anthropogenic CO2, which we are emitting by various anthropogenic regions. Now, we can observe these microscopic tiny organisms which we cannot see by our eye, but we can observe it from space, almost from 700 kilometers from the surface of Earth, by using a technology called ocean color remote sensing. So India has flown since 99, 3 ocean remote sensing satellites, OceanSat 1, 2, and now we are having the OceanSat 3 satellite. We are observing this phytoplankton concentration and its distribution world over. We are also making measurements of sea surface temperature. We are also making measurements of the winds, which are basically the driving factors for all oceanic processes, which absorbs, the carbon dioxide in the ocean column. What I show you in this beautiful animation, which has been done by, combining 1 year's data and generating monthly estimates of oceanic phytoplanktons world over, what you see is in the red and yellow, the hotter colors, the high concentration of phytoplanktons world over, and the blue regions are basically the oceanic deserts where virtually there is no productivity happens. And this dynamics of ocean phytoplanktons is strongly linked with the seasonality also, especially with the summers and winters, there is a transition. Now, the amount of significance of this phytoplankton is that a study suggests that if all the phytoplanktons vanishes, within 5 days, the temperature of the world itself will rise by 3 to 4 degrees centigrade because of the high amount of the CO2 built up in the atmosphere. This is what is the most important aspect that we need to worry, that how we can sustain this oceanic flora and biota so that, we can think of having oceans as a permanent carbon reserve. We combine this data from the ocean winds. You can see these wind vectors which are derived from another instrument called scatterometer, and most of it follows a very good correlation. Wherever the stronger winds are there is more churning in the ocean and more productive oceans are there. So we need to keep into our decision making these natural aspects of ocean dynamics when we are building our ocean economy across the world. So this all wonderful data which is coming from space-based systems helps you in taking very vital decisions. This is another high resolution wind measurement which is coming from space called through scatterometers, which is helpful during cyclone prediction or what is known as the cyclogenesis. 5 days in advance today, India has an early warning system with the help of IMD and Department of Space, which all the space data is enabling us to accurately forecast at what location the cyclones are going to hit, at what speed and what will be the wind speeds, thanks to all these measurements which is coming from ground-based as well as from the space-based observations. Now for a state like Odisha, which basically gets, suffers from this cyclonic disturbances, this data becomes very critical. Another important aspect is about the renewable energy when we talk of the net zero emissions. Using high resolution synthetic aperture radars, which basically provides you the information about the roughness of the sea, we can convert this roughness information into the wind speed at 5 meter to 6 meter grid interval and generate, the information about the sustainable high wind regions. So the area near Kanyakumari, Gulf of Mannar, these are the areas where throughout the year you have the sustained high winds, and they become the most potential areas for developing the offshore wind platforms. So such kind of, very valuable data is very important in terms of, achieving the net zero initiative. These are the high, wind potential areas world over, even in the offshore regions as well as in the high seas, thanks to the data coming from our scatterometer products. Another important aspect is estimation of the currents in the ocean by combining various data coming from the ground measurements as well as space measurements. Now using these current data sets as well as what we call as the sea state forecasting, the maritime optimal ship routes are being decided, which basically tells you that you can save large amount of fuel if you choose an optimized ship route based on the currents and favorable wind speeds. Large amount of carbon emissions can be stopped while using this type of decision making, which is very important for the marine sector. Another most important aspect is the use of GPS or GNSS technology. India is developing our own regional constellation of GNSS systems called NAVIC. We are fitting now more than 10 lakh of fishermen boats by these devices so that all fishermen boats can be tracked and they can be monitored in real time basis so that they can go to potential fishing zone areas. They will burn less amount of fuel as well as their safety during the disaster situations, and in case they are crossing the maritime boundaries of different countries, an alert also comes to them through the help of this messaging service coming from the NAVIC platform. So this is another very important initiative which is basically coming from space, and many of you, those who are ocean-faring people, are also aware about the satellite communication services because your terrestrial communication doesn't work. So all these technological perspectives which come from space are now today very integral component of achieving net zero goals as far as developing the blue economy is concerned. Sir talked about some startup ecosystems. Space technology has been opened up in last 3 to 4 years by the policy intervention of Government of India. Today, we have more than 300 startups in space sector alone, including development of the rockets, building satellite systems, and then of course having ground segment and of course having the applications. Now, for a state like Odisha, which has around 575 kilometer coastline, marine spatial planning is very important. We need to identify the conservation areas, exploitation areas, industrial areas, considering the ecological characteristics of the coastline. Space provides valuable data in terms of knowing the amount of the biomass which is there in the mangrove forest, the amount of blue carbon which is flowing into estuarine systems from the rivers, as well as keeping eye on events like oil pollution events, like oil spills, etc., in case of any disasters which happens on the sea. So there are large amount of opportunities for many startup companies to take these geospatial initiatives, especially in the marine sectors. Then there is also big emphasis on cage culture as well as seagrass, as well as developing the potential areas for harnessing the floating solar panel energy also, apart from tidal and the wind energy. So in all these sectors, there is empty amount of opportunity exists for the startup companies to use this data which is coming from space platform and become a profitable venture in terms of supporting development of blue economy. I would like to thank each one of you for giving me this opportunity, and we look forward for more discussions as the session progresses. Thank you very much, sir.
If you like to contact any one of us for your purpose of startups, you can write a letter to the center, or at the end even we can give our addresses, phone numbers, the emails. You can write to us. Please get it from the center, please. Thank you.
Very good morning to all of you. To begin with the dignitaries on the dais and audience, I think I have won the challenge which was offered to us by the chair. And sir, I do own a solar watch, so maybe at the end of the session we can exchange some 500 rupees charges. But apart from the initial beginning, sir, my name is Commander Dr. Prashant Srivastav. I work as an advisor in the Ministry of Earth Sciences. I look after the ocean science, marine technology, blue economy aspects from the Ministries' perspective. In fact, we heard our secretary yesterday who was here, and we have been pioneering the blue economy policy for the Government of India from the Ministry of Earth Sciences point of view. And we have already highlighted the 7 different pillars under the draft blue economy policy, which is there. I would not delve into that because today's session is not primarily dealing with the blue economy and its various aspects, but specifically with regard to what is the net zero achievement for the blue economy and how can we achieve on that. But just to give the audience a flavor of how we envisage blue economy, it's not just the traditional sectors of maritime, fisheries, or coastal tourism, or renewable energy, but there are about 25 different departments and ministries of Government of India which are in some way or the other directly or indirectly associated with the blue economic aspect. In fact, it was a challenge for us when we were drafting the policy document that the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, they came up and said, why you have not included our input into it? And so we needed to have a dialogue with the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, specifically with the Andaman and Nicobar administration, where it was very much important to take into consideration the traditional knowledge and indigenous knowledge which is available on the blue economic aspects of those island areas to be considered into as part of the maritime policy which we have already drafted. Having said that, I would also now draw your attention to the session which is primarily looking at the Net Zero Oceans initiative. And in this, I would say that India has already, given its targets or the goals which have been set by the Government of India to reduce its emissions by almost 45% and also achieve renewable energy targets of about 500 gigawatts by 2030, as well as achieve net zero targets by 2070 and become a net zero economy in that aspect. In that, how does the blue economy or the areas, how can blue economy contribute to achieve that? That is the question which we need to be answered as a panelist, and as highlighted by my previous speaker, director from NRSC, Dr. Chauhan. Space provides a very big, space technology, I would say, provides a very big opportunity to monitor the ocean space, which is a very huge and a large space available with us, specifically in the deeper waters where it's difficult to venture out. We don't have enough observations also there. But yes, how do we use the space technology and then use in situ observations to develop certain services which will then add to achieving the net zero target? And I will try and give you a few examples of how our ministry has worked to achieve that by providing different services. So we heard about the space picture, which is giving us the chlorophyll concentration available at sea. Beautiful slideshow was shown at different areas where seasonally how the chlorophyll changes, and using the chlorophyll and the sea surface temperature as well as the currents, modeling is done, and in situ observations by data buoys or marine mood buoys is taken, which our ministry operates through NIOT, that is National Institute of Ocean Technology and INCOIS, to develop a service known as Potential Fishing Zone Advisories. This advisory goes out to almost 10 lakh coastal fishermen on a daily basis. And this helps the fishermen to identify the location of potential fisheries at a distance from the coast and what is the potential harvest which they would be getting. So once this advisory is out, the fisherman goes out from the coast and gets a good catch and comes back. So there are two activities which are happening here. One is that you are reducing the dwell time of a vessel or a fishing vessel out at sea, and also the catch is improving. So your economic benefit is ensuring, as well as the environmental benefit of reducing the fuel cost and the running times of the vessels, of the fishing vessel. So that's a straight and direct implication on how net zero achievement could be facilitated and is being facilitated on a daily basis using this PFZ advisories. A similar activity which was highlighted was with regard to the offshore wind potential, which is already existing in certain locations, which has been observed from the space, specifically in the Tamil Nadu coast and the Gujarat coast, which has got high potential. Whereas when we talk specifically about Odisha, it has a moderate potential here. But there are certain pockets where there is, based on the LIDAR observation, that's again the in situ observations which have been undertaken by our institutes like NIOT, which I mentioned. We have identified and we have already informed the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which was Upendra Saab is there, and they have come out with a RFP procedure where obviously this will add to the already installed offshore, to the renewable energy target which are onshore to the offshore areas, and that will also add towards our net zero target, which is our another goal. Another technology which we are using, which is again very conducive and specifically for the island states, which is the OTEC technology, or the offshore thermal energy conversion technology, which is being used in the islands of Lakshadweep, where there is a crisis of drinking water because it's all saline water and water has to be transported from the mainland. The desalination plants working in Lakshadweep Islands use the OTEC technology and the low temperature thermal gradient to convert the saline water into fresh water, and it is provided to the islanders, which has immense socio-economic benefits, as well as reducing then, I would say, the energy requirement because of transportation from the mainland to the islands and bringing back the. So these are certain areas which we feel are providing towards the services, and the technology is being combined, and the science collaboration with the institutes are happening to move forward with the achievement of net zero targets which have been already defined. Coming to the sector for Odisha, which we have to just been highlighting, one was the pocket of where the offshore wind energy has a big potential. But the other areas which we have known and we know is that Odisha has a very high sun days. The number of sunny days available in Odisha is the maximum for the country. It's almost nearly 300 days in a year. And so offshore floating platforms, solar platforms, could be an area which could be very well utilized, and we had a strong discussion on this with the Chief Secretary yesterday, and she was very keen to take it up. But all that can happen once we have the marine spatial planning program, which was alluded to by my previous speaker, in place, which clearly demarcates the different zones and areas where we can undertake commercial activity, we can take conservation activities, we can undertake hard infrastructure and nature-based solution activities to be taken forward. I think I have run out of time, but I would just like to conclude by saying that we recently concluded, almost about 6 months back, the UN Oceans Conference, which was there in Nice. It clearly highlighted that the ocean is one big, large ecosystem, and we do not have, oceans do not obey boundaries like we have here. And so oceans require an integrated, they do not recognize which ministry or department or areas you deal with. The activities which are happening in the ocean are affecting globally. So we need to take conservation and sustainable development of the oceans as a target and move forward on that. Thank you very much.
I think I have a last Arun. Yes.
Hi everyone, good morning. Subha Sakala. I hope I pronounced it correct.
Yes, it's very nice, very correct.
First of all, my name is Arun. I represent the Netherlands Embassy as a part of the Dutch Innovation Network, where our work is connecting or acting as a bridge between Indian researchers and the Dutch counterparts. So we kind of act as a dating platform like Tinder or Bumble, you can say, between India and Netherlands. So we connect ideas, we connect researchers, we connect people, we connect government, we connect industries. So that's what we do. And I'm the one who is responsible for the climate and energy portfolio. So today, blue economy is something which is overlapping with many of the work that we do from India, connecting with the Netherlands. And for that, my big thanks to Dr. Mrityunjay Swar and also Dr. Namrata Mishra and the entire BCKIC team for inviting me and giving me such an opportunity to be here and talk about what we do. If not so connected with a blue economy, but still the work that we do and how we could work together, maybe moving on. We are already working with them on a range of topics. So this is also one of the sectors that we would like to focus on from now onwards. Well, this is the third time or maybe fourth time that I'm coming again and again to Bhubaneswar, mostly for official purpose. But this is a city that brings me back often. I think if not for official purpose, I would always happy to be back here. The people, the culture, the heritage, and so many things. If you know, you know. So thanks once again for that opportunity. Now today, I think I might offer a slightly different perspective of from my fellow panelists, because I won't be directly talk about blue economy, but rather I would like to connect our work and how we work in these areas that are connected with the blue economy. That I could talk about maritime, the work in maritime, and also energy security, offshore projects that we have in the Netherlands, and how we are working with India in these sectors. So when people think about Netherlands, some of the things that pops up in your mind is tulips, canals, ports, shipping, trade, and for obvious reasons, Amsterdam. But again, so Netherlands is a country, of course, is it strives or it survives in water. Because we sit in the delta of major European rivers, and also we 25%, over a quarter of our landmass is below sea level. So it's when we talk about coastal resilience, when we talk about building sustainable infrastructure along the coastal lines, this is not something which is kind of like a luxury for us, or this is not something that we can take it for granted. It's an absolute necessity for the Netherlands. So when we think about the Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest, so the Dutch people have always been the survivors. We have been surviving the rash environmental calamities related to the floods, and also the coastal pressure, and also the sea level rising. So we've been facing that since decades. So that's also one of the reasons why we had to invest heavily on innovative technologies that could combat these kind of challenges, and we can live peacefully in the country. Now, when we look at the Dutch model, I already talked about innovative technology, how we invest in these innovations to combat these kind of situations. So we invest a lot on delta management, flood protection, coastal engineering, and climate adaptive infrastructure. So projects like Delta Works and now recently the Room for the River projects are gaining global traction. So we already have seen successful implementation of the Room for the River project in Kerala, the state that has been in the news for a very disastrous flood in 2018. So we have been very closely working with the state government to implement that Room for the River project that ensure that even a large level of flood happens, because we have been facing that in the Netherlands for quite a long. So we found the way to kind of like mitigate it, if not 100% to an extent. So that's something that we already are doing with India. And today, when we talk about blue economy, the ideas extend far beyond flood protection. So they are also connected with our broader themes in sustainable ports, offshore energy, maritime innovation, and climate resilience. So, well, from my networks, as I mentioned, I work for the Netherlands Innovation Network. Our work mostly focus on energy, climate, transition portfolio, particularly areas like offshore energy, hydrogen, maritime innovation, water, and circular economy solutions. And of course, it is also connected with bio-based economy and industrial biotech. Take offshore energy, for example. The North Sea is rapidly becoming one of Europe's most important clean energy zones. So you can see that most of the energy transport towards Europe is connected with Port of Rotterdam, and then move into the other countries such as Germany, France, and towards the east. We're also building the entire ecosystem around it. So we have a study example that you could study on how to build stable grids, energy hubs, hydrogen production, port infrastructure, and new industrial clusters, which are all connected with the triple helix model, like academia, industry, and the government. Now, when it comes to maritime, which is quite relevant to today's blue economy discussion, so we are increasingly focused on areas such as sustainable marine transport, green port development, clean shipping fuels, such as the sustainable marine fuels, and smart port logistics, circular shipbuilding, climate resilient coastal infrastructure. And this is where we see strong opportunities between India and Netherlands. There are a lot of things that are already happening in the maritime and also in the energy sector, but we see a lot of still further opportunities to collaborate in the port engineering, maritime logistics, dredging, coastal protection, and also port decarbonization. So the combination creates some interesting possibilities also for further collaborations, not only on trade, but also on technology. Most importantly, pilots, because that's what the European side looking India, because India can offer the scale and you have the resources and also the workforce, talent. So that's where the Dutch technologies would be interested in coming to India and do the demonstration of pilot and also joint research and innovation partnerships. When it comes to hydrogen, so this is something which is a key molecule that can decarbonize, that can support the decarbonization goals of many countries to an extent. So I think for a longer run, we don't just rely on electrons, but we have to rely also on green molecules such as hydrogen. So the Netherlands, I'm so proud to say that we have the world's first hydrogen valley, which was set up in Groningen. We have the complete ecosystem built like 15, 20 years back. So this is something which acts as a test bed or an example for many of the hydrogen valleys across the Europe. And also in India, we have seen many hydrogen valleys, such as first example is Odisha, are pretty keen on working with us. And also there are already some collaboration happening with Kerala and also Pune and Jodhpur valleys. So in hydrogen, so we are connecting the entire ecosystem, starting from the production side, then shipping, industry. The molecule can decarbonize the entire systems. We already have seen the refineries and the shipping and also fertilizers, chemicals, and long duration energy storage. So these are something that hydrogen as a molecule we could kind of like support. And now, if you look at what's happening between India and Netherlands, we are already working on setting up a maritime pathway from India, connecting via Port of Rotterdam in the Netherlands and to Germany and to the other European nations. So this is kind of like an umbrella program, and under which whatever work we do in the hydrogen space, it all complements the work we do, especially when we talk about R&D that we do. That's the mandate for my network. When we focus on R&D, we focus the entire value chain, starting from the production, storage, and transportation. So we are pretty active in the electrolyzers, different forms of electrolyzers, whether it is alkaline, whether it is PEM, whether it is solid oxide. So we are pretty active in the solid, electrolyzers and fuel cells. And you look at the bunkering solutions, we have a technology that can support or that can work together with the Indian valleys and the stakeholders. So that's somewhere we already are doing a lot of work. If you are someone who wants to kind of work with the Netherlands side, please feel free to reach out to me after this. I would be happy to explain more. I have limited time here, so I don't want to get into much more into it. And another sector that we particularly focus is on industrial biotech, particularly on green and white biotech that are looking into bio-based fuels, chemicals, materials, and low-carbon industrial feedstocks. So it is pretty essential for reduce the carbon emissions across multiple sectors, also including it's a kind of like a cross-cutting sector with the blue economy. And over the past few years, we have been doing a lot of innovation missions to India on a range of topics. And probably, maybe in a couple of years, we would also like to see one mission happening in the theme of blue economy. So all these topics are kind of like interconnected with the blue economy, the cleaner fuels, sustainable materials, circular approaches to reducing the marine pollution. So we also support research collaborations through bilateral as well as multilateral program. When it comes to bilateral, it's always with Indian ministries such as the Department of Science and Technology and also the Principal Scientific Advisors Office. Nowadays, we work with them very closely, and also MNRE. So we have been, MNRE has supported us last year with a 15 million call under the European framework, which is on bio-based production of hydrogen. So there is a lot of work already happening with what we do from the innovation network and also the broader network from the embassy and our consulates in Mumbai and Bangalore. And also, as per the request from our honorable moderator, I also want to include a little bit of our work in startups. So we work across startups and not just connected on energy and climate. So if you are a startup who have some niche technologies that you want to work with the Netherlands and scale it on semiconductors, or look at quantum computing or artificial intelligence, data modeling, or maybe if that is connected with energy, climate, healthcare, life sciences, space technologies, or any key enabling technologies that you would love to, if you have a global ambitions, we would welcome you. So we have certain programs to take you to a soft landing program to Netherlands through the Netherlands Foreign Investment Agency. We have colleagues to help you out. And then we also have, if you are a Dutch entity, we have subsidies, we have subsidy programs, we also have grants through public-private partnership program. One of the biggest example is, if you have been to the expo or which is already happening upstairs, just go to a company called AP Chemie. AP Chemie used to be, I mean, they are the pyrolysis leaders is what their website says. And they're an Indian company incorporated in India, and then got the first seed funding from Shell. It's a Dutch company. Now, of course, the headquarters is in London. And it has been a best example of how Indian startups could scale with the Dutch support through government subsidies, grants, and R&D program, and public-private partnerships such as Shell programs here. And similarly, if you have similar kind of interest, please feel free to reach out to me, or BCKIC have they have our coordinates, so they would be happy to connect you with us. And finally, I may want to leave you with one thought. The blue economy is not just about oceans, ports, or maritime. It's all about building a future where clean energy, resilient costs, circular industries, and innovation ecosystem all work together, just like how we take things as a multi-helix approach, connecting government, industry, academia, and of course, including the public and the civil societies. India and Netherlands, we may be quite different in size, but in many ways, we are natural partners in this journey, especially Netherlands and Odisha, because we combat this, natural calamities, in a more or less similar way. So I feel that connection, and I would want to, build this connection from here. Together, I think there is a lot we could achieve. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for my fellow panelists, and thanks again to BCKIC.
One of the essence of all the panel speaking is that, something concrete required in the action front, and I'm sure the center will start something concrete out of this after this conference. So maybe I suggest a net zero startup fund, which can, encourage youth. And I have one example in mind. It is the IIM Ahmedabad. As Secretary MNRE, we had given some 25 crores to create a startup fund in IIM Ahmedabad. I'm told they have made it 10 times more now. So if you can take some lessons, and this global conference can be followed up with something concrete measure, that is going to help everybody. And in this panel, You know, you have the world here, two countries. You have ISRO, who sent a rocket to Mars with the lowest cost per kilometer, and you have the Ministry of Sciences. So if anyone needs anything, and you have a retired bureaucrat here who can catalyze many things. And so you're most welcome at individual level or institutional level, and even for this center as a net zero growth fund or startup fund, we're all there. Thank you, my panel members, and to the audience here. Sorry, no time for questions. ChatGPT is there.
Thank you so much. A big round of applause for our session chair and panelists. And as is the customary practice, I'll request our session chair, Shri Upendra Tripathi, former Secretary, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, to kindly present tokens of appreciation to our panelists. So I'll request everyone to please step forward for the photograph as we present the mementos. I'll first request him to present a memento, a token of appreciation, to Mr. Bernard Lynch, Consul General, Australian Consulate, Kolkata. We'll request our dignitaries to kindly step forward. Upendra sir. So we have the right photograph. Consul General, Australian Consulate, Kolkata. To Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director, National Remote Sensing Center, ISRO. To Dr. Prakash Chauhan, Director, National Remote Sensing Center, ISRO. Go. To Dr. Commander P.K. Srivastava, Advisor, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Government of India. To Mr. Arun Thikedat, Senior Advisor, Science, Technology and Innovation, Netherlands Innovation Network. And of course, I'll also request Dr. Mrityunjay Swar to present one to our session chair, Shri Upendra Tripathi. And we end it with a group photograph. Before we quickly move to our next session, we have 2 more sessions before lunch, and we are slightly behind schedule, so we like to stick to the time from here on. Thank you so much. We'll now move to our third session. While we set the stage, I'll take this opportunity and save time and introduce our session chair and panelists. So the third session is, of the morning will be Blue Labs to Global Markets. This session will explore how research institutions, universities, and international collaboration can accelerate the journey from scientific discovery to scalable market solutions in the blue economy. The moderator for this session will be Dr. Mrityunjay Swar himself, Chairman, Bhubaneswar City Knowledge Innovation Cluster, and the panelists will be Mr. Arthur Rapp, Director, DAAD Regional Office, New Delhi, Dr. Kusumita Arora, Director, Indo-German Science and Technology Center, Professor D.B. Sahu, Professor, University of Delhi. As we set the stage, I'll introduce each one of them to you. We already know Professor Dr. Mrityunjay Swar, the chairman of BCKIC, and the man who is, and his team, it's because of their efforts that we are all together here for this global summit. And he's also the Director General of R&D at KIT University, a molecular microbiologist with postdoctoral experience from ET at Zurich. He's also the founding CEO of KIT Technology Business Incubator, where he has mentored over 450 deep tech startups, a prolific researcher and institutional leader, dedicated to building a vibrant innovation ecosystem in Odisha and Northeast India. We have Mr. Arthur Rapp, the Director of the DAAD Regional Office in New Delhi and the German Center for Research and Innovation. He oversees academic exchange and scientific cooperation between Germany and South Asia and has held key leadership positions within the DAAD network globally. He's also a strong advocate of international research, collaboration, and innovation diplomacy. We have Dr. Kusumita Arora, the Director of the Indo-German Science and Technology Center and a distinguished scientist from the CSIR, National Geophysical Research Institute. With over 3 decades of research experience in earth sciences, she facilitates high-impact partnerships between academia and industry in India and Germany to translate scientific innovation into industrial solution. And we have Professor Dinabandhu Sahu, Senior Professor in the Department of Botany at the University of Delhi and the former director of the Institute of Bioresources and Sustainable Development. He's internationally recognized for his work on seaweed cultivation and sustainable marine bioresources, empowering coastal communities and promoting climate-resilient blue economy initiatives. So I'll now request Dr. Mrityunjay Saha to take this discussion forward.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I know we are running late, but I think we'll be more smarter because you have to finish it by 12:40 if you all, because somebody has to catch flight. So I'll not speak much, but just to tell you, the title says it's a Blue Labs to global market. I think we'll also include the local market to the global market. This subject is quite oft for the conference today, the summit today, because whatever you do today, the science needs to develop technology, it needs to get into commercialized. And the 2 days has been talking about those things. Science is very important, experiments are quite interesting, but then what is the outcome? So today is not about publication and patents, but also going towards new product processes. So blue economy sector is quite new for everyone, and for Odisha is quite new because you coastline, we talk about it, but somehow even the laboratories are there, institutions there, but we have not really done much good work to show to the world the lab outcome has gone into global market. So, but we have got interesting panel here because they are the enablers, some of them are doers, they have been doing things in the laboratories. So I'll go to them straight asking your questions, or maybe first of all, Arthur, to you. Tell us what DWIS is doing here and how are you promoting blue economy based research, innovation, and all what you do, sector of blue economy. Maybe 2-3 minutes each.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I represent an institution. It's called the German Academic Exchange Service, and we have actually 2 offices in Delhi. The second office is called the German Center for Research and Innovation, DWIH, and my dear colleague representing the Netherlands called his institution the Tinder. So if you're the Tinder, then I guess we're the traditional matchmakers because we have been active in India for the past 65 years. This is when our office was established. And as a matter of fact, the Indo-German collaboration partnerships are the most long-standing in the country. Yes. So what we do as an institution is we have currently more than 500 cooperations between India and Germany, and my institution is supporting 75 of these cooperations. We have more than 40 funding programs between India and Germany. You can find all of that looking at our website, which is it better? Is it better? Yes, thank you. Can switch this off?
It's on.
It's on. Okay, good. Thank you. Good. So you can find all of the information regarding the different funding schemes on our website. Yeah, you can simply Google us. And we also, of course, are very present on social media and LinkedIn, for example. Good. Now, back to your question, what do we do? I would like to name one very specific project that we do support, which is called the Global Water and Climate Adaptation Center, ABCD Center. It stands for 4 cities, so Aachen and Dresden in Germany, Bangkok and Thailand, and the 4th city, it's Chennai, basically based at IIT Madras here in India. This cooperation was established in the year of 21, and it is focusing on water security. Why is water security so important? We did hear at the very beginning today aspects about maritime security. So by water security, I mean another aspect, which is around 80% of world's population are actually experiencing threats to water security, especially people living in coastal areas. They are very much prone to risks of flooding and as well a contamination of fresh water. So the ABCD Center connecting these 4 cities, 4 important institutions, they do have different pillars, how they work. So one is, of course, research and innovation, what they do. As well, they have a joint master's program. But then when we look at all of these aspects, of research being conducted, another important pillar is that we need to translate the research and innovation into the local communities. And this is something the ABCD Center is also focusing on. You know, we need to convince the people in the communities, and by translating is not that easy, as all you know, because basically what happens is if science becomes too complicated, then we lose the people. They are not able to follow. So we need to make it simple. But then it gets very tricky again, because if you oversimplify it, then it's not correct again, right? And especially talking about water security, there's a lot of factors playing together. So it's very, very complex. And here the ABCD Center steps in. So what they do is they publish policy papers, they do workshops, they do transfer seminars to assist policymakers and cities and different stakeholders, you know, how to translate that science, how to translate the knowledge actually into real day appliances and applications. As a matter of fact, this project is a flagship example, and this is why it was mentioned recently in an Indian publication, which is, it was published by the NITI Aayog just in December 25, and it's called Internationalization of Higher Education in India. So, highly interesting document. If you don't know it yet, please read it. It's very fascinating, the insights. Thank you, and I hand back over to you.
Thank you so much. I think I'll go to Dr. Arora. The IGSTC is doing some good work, and can you tell us what IGSTC does, especially in the blue economy sector, also you can focus in future?
Thank you, Professor Swar, first of all, for inviting me, for having IGSTC on this platform, and thank you also to BCKIC for including us. I think the theme today of this session, Blue Lab to Global Markets, just the most relevant point here is that in blue economy, as in other sectors, the problems we are facing from different countries and different parts of the world, there are some fundamental underlying principles and underlying problems which are the same, and all of us are trying to solve them in our own ways. And so what makes better sense than to join hands together, join resources together, and come together on the same platform? You could use really? Yeah. Okay. Same platform to do them together. Thereby, we learn from each other, we support each other in science, in technology, in funding, in resources. So the IGSTC was established to facilitate Indo-German R&D networking, specifically, yes, among government, academia, research system, and as well as industries, fostering innovation for overall economic and societal developments. And it tries to advance industrial research partnership with mutuality of interest and respect. In the respect of the blue economy, and particularly perhaps with respect to Odisha, I'll just mention that, okay, the whole world, 70% of the world's surface is covered by water, and 40% of the global population live in coastal areas and from coastal resources. One aspect, in interest of time, I will not go into many, but one aspect, I think there has been interest from Germany, and I think Odisha is also rapidly advancing its offshore renewable energy sector, focusing on offshore wind and tidal energy along its coastline, and has a potential to become a major green energy hub. The National Institute of Wind Energy has identified Odisha as having significant wind power potential with around 12,000 megawatt at 150-meter hub height. And there have been several areas at which this will be concentrated, these efforts. Tidal and ocean energy is also being actively explored, and the coastline is being leveraged for its unique geographical features. And the Odisha renewable energy policy encourages research into marine energy, including tidal wave, ocean thermal energy conversion. Here, Europe has been at the forefront of these efforts for quite a long time, leading innovative research on hybrid marine energy systems, and Germany is advancing its sustainable blue economy framework in alignment with climate neutrality goals, which it takes very seriously. As an European leader in offshore wind engineering, marine research, polar science, and sustainable maritime transport, its blue economy emphasizes low carbon port development, offshore renewable systems, marine diversity conservation, and data-driven ocean monitoring. And here I think there is an ample opportunity to join hands together. Kiel University's examples of floating wave power concepts, and there are several others which I'll not go into details. Leveraging the RDI funds from India and Germany, I think the Indo-German Science and Technology Center can actually envision establishing an innovation hub on blue economy with a specific renewable energy nexus for joint collaboration, linking academia and industry to co-develop scalable ocean-based energy technologies, particularly tailored to India's diverse marine environments, yes, and also leveraging the existing know-how from Germany and combining our forces together. Thank you.
So much. And I will move to Professor D.B. Sahu, who is from the University of Delhi, and I think he has been doing a lot of work in the seaweed and the marine ecosystem. I think, Professor Sahu, can you tell us?
Thank you very much, Professor Swar. This is a session which is focusing on university R&D leadership and from blue labs to global markets. For the last 1.5 days, we have been discussing various aspects of blue economy, starting from maritime security to the marine environment and many different areas. I have spent almost 45 years of my life in the sea because I am from a place called Puri, which is just 60 kilometers away from this city. But for the last 45 years, I have been doing marine research from Delhi University. We had a department of Government of India called Department of Ocean Development. In mid-term, it changes its name to Ministry of Earth Sciences. You see, ocean is a very, very difficult ecosystem to understand. It's not like our terrestrial ecosystem. One thing is very important is to understand the complex ecosystems and the complex science in the ocean. Policy formulation is one thing, but it requires policies should be based on the hardcore scientific knowledge. And these complex ecosystems, to study, to understand, you require trained manpower. Unlike European country or Japan or Korea, which are maritime countries, their requirements, their research is completely different. But unfortunately, in India, we do not have many universities and institutes which offer degrees in the marine science or any area of marine biology. In Odisha, probably it is having 1 or 2 universities, and that too they teach general marine science. In country like India, we have 2 institutes, one in East Coast, another is in the West Coast, which deals with, one is NIO Goa, which deals with oceanography, and the other one is CSMCRI. But what is more important is, if we are talking about blue economy and a roadmap for 2047, then we need to invest in HR. We need to actually introduce the courses at the master's as well as the undergraduate level and invest more money in R&D, because for that you need technically a different sets of people who can go to the oceans and do a lot of field work. Data generation is one thing, but let me tell you one thing. India's climate is completely different. In summer or in the rainy season, it is very, very difficult to do the field work. Unless and until you go to the field, you can generate the data that is not going to help. So when you are talking about the blue economy, it's very important for us to allocate the money to the R&D sector, because it's not like any other labs, and invest and train more manpower to make the blue economy a successful program. Otherwise, it will remain on paper. To give you one example, for the last 25 years, I have been proposing the Government of India to go for the large-scale seaweeds cultivation, which is my area. And even if after the allocation of 624 crores, there are not many takers. You allocate the money, but when you go for the large-scale commercialization of biomass, the result is not very satisfactory. So that is where we need to train more and more people. And acidification of ocean is another challenge, which is very, very important, because the number of cyclones and cyclonic phenomenon which is happening, especially to the Indian coast, it is more in Bay of Bengal. Every year now we are getting cyclones. So coastal dynamics is very, very different and very difficult. So we need to understand the ocean dynamics. We need to understand the coastal dynamics. And that's very important. And I urge that university, KIT University or other coastal universities to train their students through the curriculum. These curriculum developments are very, very different. If we don't train the people, it will be a very, very challenging job. Thank you very much.
Sir. Thank you. Thank you. I think the point was a lot of challenges, but I feel there are also opportunities. I think skill building program is one. The DAD, the IES is doing those things, and also the Indian institution, Government of India. But I think one question I need to ask three of you, because this blue economy is quite new field, even for me, for many of us. I think today you see the convergence is happening here. How do you feel we can create expertise in India, in the institution, the universities? Because, you know, when you say innovations, the RDI fund came up, the other bioethics policy and all coming up to nurture even university ecosystem to think about new product, processes, translation research. Now, what capacity you should build for the universities and institutions so that we can promote blue economy in a really in a sustainable way, in a larger way? Maybe start with, because you have been supporting several exchanges, maybe, yes, to start with, Arthur, yeah?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. So, you know, when we look at India and when I compare it to European Union or to Germany in particular, as you know, India has a very young population, right? It's a very, very dynamic environment we find here. Just recently, I talked to one of our German partners who's active for our German Center for Research and Innovation, and he said another important thing is the difference he finds between Germany and India is that people here are willing to risk things, you know. Young people are driven, they like to experiment and to see what comes out, you know. And you need all of that to foster innovation, right? So the German Center for Research and Innovation, we do offer two programs that I would like to mention. So one is the Innovators Connect program. This is where we bring young people from India and Germany together. They get a turn, they get the opportunity to turn their ideas into startups, you know. So that's one of the programs we have. Then the second program that we have is the InnoExchange program. This is where we have bilateral exposure visits. There is exchange between both countries. We especially also focus very much on women entrepreneurs. Now, back to your question. I would say India is doing its homework, you know, and there's actually many things that Europe or Germany in particular can actually learn from India. Let me just give you a few examples because I like very much numbers. So the first fact, India filed last year 100,000 patents, you know, Germany filed last year 143,000 patents. So you could say, okay, Germany is doing better, right? No, this is not the case, because if you look at the development, the numbers have been rising in India. So let's give it another 2-3 years, and India will bypass many countries. So this development is very impressive. Then another figure, if we look at the startups that were registered last year in India, we have 44,000 new startups that were founded last year. So again, a lot of, it's very dynamic and it's very impressive. 2 more short examples. So the Bharat Innovates has actually one event that is going to happen in June in France. They are going to Nice. They will take 100 Indian startups to a very nice location. And what they are going to do is they are going to showcase the startups and basically bring stakeholders from the ecosystem together. By stakeholders, I mean the incubators, the investors, very important, of course, government and industry, So this is a very smart idea, go to the investors and make them look at you and invest. And the third example, which I learned recently about, is the fact that the Bhubaneswar City Knowledge Innovation Cluster Foundation actually just recently signed an MOU with an incubator in the United Arab Emirates. And the whole idea is that Indian ideas are being taken to the Arab Emirates to look for funding, and then the startup can be developed, it can grow, the whole idea can grow, and then it can be taken back to India, for scale up. So this is very impressive. These are just a few examples which I find fascinating, and like I said, there is many things Europe can learn from you, and I would like to hand over.
Thank you. I think rightly you said we are doing the homework now. So going to Dr. Arora, I think IGSTC has been supporting several activities in science. So do you think you can also build the capacity of Indian institutions to promote more blue economy innovations kind of activities or research activities?
IGSTC works through interconnected and tightly mapped plans for mobility programs as well as research grants. And the mobility programs are targeted primarily at young researchers, young innovators, also from the industry, who can go to Germany, take their problems, try to find solutions, bring German counterparts back to their ecosystems and try to form solutions together. For example, there are scientists from Gujarat Institute and who is working with Helmholtz Center for Environmental Research on assessment of microplastic heavy metal interactions in coastal and freshwater ecosystem in Gujarat and their ecotoxicological effects on selected aquatic biota. So there are others, like there's one with Geomar, which is AI-driven advanced plankton image analysis for ocean monitoring. For blue economy related topics on green hydrogen using marine renewable resources, hybrid energy platforms, energy storage solutions, smart grid integration for energy transmission, life cycle and waste management on these topics. There are a lot of emphasis from, I think, Arthur will also be able to confirm from Germany, and we can join hands together in several ways by having interactive workshops, by having mobility programs and joint projects together to boost up training and understanding of young researchers and innovators in India.
Thank you. I think I go to the last one. Professor Sahu, I think how can the product development in the blue economy be designed, which will directly benefit and involve the coastal communities? Because if you talk about blue economy, they're the primary stakeholders. So how do you bring those kind of connects?
As I said in the beginning, India's requirement is very different. The coastal dynamics, the socio-economic conditions of the coastal people are much different, okay? So when you are talking about the products, a product based on hardcore scientific research will be much more acceptable not only for the Indian conditions, but also for the global conditions. But my very specific suggestions is like, I have traveled many marine research stations across the country. We don't have very good marine research stations which collect the data 24/7. Not many in India. So what is important is, if blue economy is at its infancy, there are a couple of countries which they have Ministry of Blue Economy, like Seychelles, they have a Ministry of Blue Economy. So if we are looking for next 10 or 20 years, my suggestions are very specific. Number one, create world-class marine infrastructures in the research institutions, teaching institutions.
That's what also yesterday the secretary told about.
Yeah. And the marine stations. Then go for the national collaborations as well as the international collaborations. There are many European countries, those who have very fantastic marine research which is going on, not only in the European region, but also several Asian countries like Japan, Korea. They have developed wonderful infrastructure and trained manpower. And we need to send our people to those countries so they go and take training and come back and replicate in India. That's very important for us. And the research need to be integrated. The technology has come up. There are machines, when you are talking about microbiology or molecular biology, they are all using the tools and techniques which are being developed for the higher plants. And marine resources are unexplored. There are drugs from the sea program which has been going on for more than 3 decades. There are big companies like Iframar and other company in Germany and US. They are doing a lot of products development. So ocean is huge, and what we can do is, if we can have a focus-based approach and set up our priorities, that will be a wonderful initiative to start with. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is well said. Ocean is huge. We have to also need to bring the huge change in the mindset, the culture of the Indian institution. Science is great, but then if you really want to get into the development of new product, it is a different mindset, different culture. So there are enablers. I think we'll build those practices, learn the best practices from various countries and bring it back to India, build strategic collaborations and see that we are not only doing science, but you're doing science for a purpose. With this, I thank everyone, because you don't have much of time. The other 2 questions I'm not asking you. Thank you so much for joining this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and a big round of applause for all our panelists. And as is the practice, I'll request Dr. Mrityunjay Suha, Chairman, BCKIC, to now felicitate our panelists. I'll request all of them to kindly step forward as we present the mementos and the token of appreciation to each one of them. So I'll request them to kindly step forward and receive a token of appreciation from the BCKIC family. To Mr. Arthur Rabb, Director at AAT Regional Office, New Delhi. To Dr. Kusumita Arora, Director, Indo-German Science and Technology Center. And to Professor Dinabandhu Sahu, Professor, University of Delhi. And of course, we'll have a group photograph before we move to our next session. A group photograph, so I request everybody to kindly. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll quickly set the stage for our next session, the 4th session before lunch, and a very important one, ports, petroleum and maritime trade corridors. This session will examine how port infrastructure, energy, logistic and maritime trade network are shaping the economic geography of the blue economy. So I'll quickly request the team to set the stage up as, I take this opportunity to talk about our session chair and our panelists. So ladies and gentlemen, our session chair for this session is Srimati Usha Padhi, Additional Chief Secretary, Housing and Urban Development, Govt of Odisha, and Chairperson NITI. She's already here with us. A warm welcome to her. And our panelists are Shri Subrat Tripathi, President Business Development, Adani Group, Shri Ashok Mahapatra, former Director, Maritime Safety Division, International Maritime Organization, Dr. Shishir Shrotia, Coordinator and Head Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity, RIS, New Delhi, Professor N. Chena, Campus Director, Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, and Dr. Chimi Udon, Head of Blue Economy, National Maritime Foundation. So as they get ready, I'll take this opportunity to briefly introduce each one of them. We are having with us Srimati Usha Padhi, Additional Chief Secretary, Housing and Urban Development Department, Govt of Odisha, and Chairperson of ITCO. She has held several key leadership positions in the state and the national level. Earlier steered the Commerce and Transport Department, where she worked on strengthening Odisha's connectivity and logistic ecosystem, critical pillars for economic growth and maritime trade. During her tenure as the Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Civil Aviation, she also played an important role in implementing the Udan Regional Connectivity Scheme, a transformative initiative. She has often championed progressive initiatives that combine infrastructure development with social inclusion, be it modernizing urban system to encouraging greater participation of women in public service, reflecting her belief that development must be both forward-looking and inclusive. We have with us Shri Subrat Tripathi, President of the Business Development at the Adani Group, bringing over 3 decades of leadership in multimodal logistics, ports and heavy infrastructure. A former Indian Railway Traffic Service officer has been instrumental in developing integrated logistic and industrial corridor ecosystems in the country. We are very privileged to have with us Shri Ashok Mahapatra, former Director of the Maritime Safety Division at the International Maritime Organization, a specialized agency of the United Nations. The first Indian to hold this position, he played a key role in the implementation of global maritime safety regulation, including the STCW Convention and the Polar Code. We have with us Dr. Shishir Shrotia, the Coordinator and Head of the Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity at RIS, New Delhi. With over 2 decades of experience, he has worked extensively on blue economy strategy, port-led development and maritime cooperation in the Indian Ocean region. We also have with us Professor Dr. N. Chena, Campus Director at Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University, where he leads programs aimed at bridging vocational training with industry demand and promoting entrepreneurial skills among students. And we also have for this session, Dr. Chimi Udon, the Head of Blue Economy at the National Maritime Foundation, and a research fellow specializing in the climate-ocean security nexus. Her work focuses on maritime infrastructure resilience and sustainable ocean governance across the Indo-Pacific region. So I'll now request Srimati Usha Padhi ji to deliver the leadership talk and kindly take the discussion forward. Thank you.
Can I sit here and talk? Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope we will not be taking too much of time between you and lunch. Once again, I thank the organizers for making this Global Blue Economy Summit happening in Odisha. Extremely privileged to be here. And I am also very elated to be part of this illustrative panelists. Time given to us is around 40 minutes, so it would not be fair in my part if I am taking too much of time, because they have so much of experience, my panelists, so that they will be able to share some of the gist of it with you. So I will be very briefly introducing the session, and then maybe I'll hand over to the panelist. Instead of question and answer, maybe first round, maybe 5 minutes, you can talk about your perceptions and the national vision aligning with Odisha. So I will be going around, and maybe if time permits, 1 round of questions we can take. I was Principal Secretary when I moved this proposal from Commerce and Transport Department to government to approve and get it happen in Odisha in collaboration with BCKIC. And after that, when it is happening, Dr. Suar called me and he said that I should be there. Then I waited for the letter of Mr. Rajput also to come and reach me. Then I actually called him whether I have already moved, whether I should be actually going or not. Then he said, no, you have to come. I said, as a housing and urban secretary, I do not have too much of role, maybe as a IDCO chairperson. Then he said, you can come. So I think the name was changed from HNUD ACS to Chairperson IDCO. Then I reflected on those things, whether I have been actually chosen or not. I was destined to be in the transport and logistics sector maybe since last 11 to 12 years. I was just saying since 2015. Before that, I am a hardcore social infrastructure person, because I thought without social infrastructure, all this other infrastructure becomes meaningless. It is about the humans which matters in any of the development and just society. But somehow from 2015 onwards, when I came back, I was in Commerce and Transport Department, and it was known as only RTO's department. So now I think I'm very happy that the Maritime Vision is part of the department, and it is one of the highlight, and Odisha Vision 2047 talks about port-led development. With this background, I would be saying something about what we are discussing it today, how critical it is. So if you open the TV every day now, you only come up with those turbulence which are happening in the global market, right? So it might be happening around 3,000 kilometers away, but impact is seen in our kitchens. All secretaries group have been talking how we should be working together to make the cylinders reaches every household and there is no shortage. So how integrated it is. In this regard, whether it is port, petroleum, and whatever we call maritime corridors, all are so integrated into our lives. It is also integrated into our social infrastructure. It is also integrated into our economic infrastructure. If I can say this, I can see some of the uniform people are also sitting here. These maritime activities have become a strategic sector rather than any one sector. It is coming across the development of the nation. Odisha in this regard has aligned, and we have a very rich coastal line of 575 kilometers. Since yesterday, you have been listening about the various goal and vision which have been already listed for Odisha. Chief Secretary ma'am was here, she might have listed. My colleague Mr. Rajput might have also been told how the maritime activities have been thought. But this session or this event which have been organized may be one of the benchmark or one of the milestone where from the plan we will go towards the implementation. So I welcome all the audience who are from various part of subsector of maritime blue economy. So to be indulged in Odisha's growth and contribute as per their own role and responsibilities. I'll stop here. Maybe I'll request each of our panelists to very briefly tell about their vision and how they see Odisha in next few years in the path of maritime activities. When I say only maritime, it is integrated into your energy security, it is integrated into our national security, it is integrated into the local growth and economy, employment, skills, everything is integrated together. So all panelists who are here, they would be covering one portion of it, but as a whole, I'm sure that that is more than a summary of what we would be talking. So I'll first request Mr. Tripathi, Subrat Tripathi. He has been a friend of Odisha, so he was just asking me what I should be focusing. So I said, you know how to pitch Odisha in the global platform. So he is one very passionate person about Odisha's growth, and he is the one who, in fact, inspired us to go ahead with the infrastructure. Today, India is able to address this global turmoil because somebody had thought at some point of time to create the infrastructure. So we are the biggest, largest refineries we have, which can take the crude oil and bring the petroleum project. It was not thought that there will be a war in the Gulf and we are going to do this. I mean, those leaders were able to foresee what is required in future. So he's one of the visionary who can tell us that Odisha has to invest in infrastructure. without waiting for the demand to come or without waiting for many things to happen, but we have to position ourselves considering the future requirement. In this context, I'll request Mr. Tripathi to share your views. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Your opening remarks are truly inspiring. We're very happy to see you chairing this session. Let me clarify to the House. Ma'am has been in the logistics sector of India, driving civil aviation and the changes, and what you see Udan today is much of our conception. So I would request the House to give her a hand to say that if you today access remote parts of the country, it's some policies that she drove at that point of time. And I, for one, know that as a part of blue economy, if one of the best places in the country where there is a convergence of culture, Asta, as we say in Indian sense, and economy is the blessed land of Puri. And there, I remember she telling me about two very important things of positioning Puri as a part of the blue economy mascot, an international airport and international cruise terminal. So I will commence by telling you what awaits India. I will stick to 5 minutes, and if there are questions, take them. A broad pan of it. First of all, aligned with the Look East policy of Government of India, the Purv Udaya vision, and championed by Honorable Prime Minister and taken by the Honorable Chief Minister over here, it puts the eastern sector of India as a gateway to that part of the world, which is Southeast Asia and beyond, and to create such an infrastructure which will drive what we believe a port-led economy. When we say a port-led economy, we are not restricting ourselves to just development of a port or scaling up Paradip to become the largest port in terms of bulk, and also the largest port in the Government of India's scope. But also, we are looking at harvesting and harnessing development at Suvarnarekha, Dhamra, Paradip, and its ancillaries, which is basically Jatadhari in the south and in the north, and Astaran, Gopalpur, and Bahuda. This vision basically means at an interspeed of nearly 45 to 50 kilometers, you will have world-class ports, which will then become harbingers of development of Odisha, where you are able to do the larger picture connect. And that is, when I say port-led development, behind is a large hinterland of mineral resources. And when you look at the landlocked states of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, and Odisha, in many ways, the erstwhile Kalinga, if you were to look at it, then you are looking at the largest resources of iron ore, bauxite, and coal, fundamental to energy security, fundamental to conversion of a resource of the earth into a new metal for the future, which will be used in various uses, starting from battery storage to semiconductors to defense manufacturing, etc. So the story about port-led development is A, putting a flag at each of these locations, bringing behind a land bank of, to begin with, 5,000 acres, but to go ahead to do at least 100,000 acres of land bank at each of the places, so that we can then convert the same story and replicate what happened around the world at Shenzhen, at Guangzhou, at Shanghai, at Rotterdam, and if I look at examples in India or Southeast Asia, at Kuala Lumpur, at Jebel Ali, and also in India from Mundra and from Chennai, as to how adjoining hinterlands where the port is the mascot drives the development of the area and goes beyond. When I look at it, a part of it is also the connectivity, and the connectivity means robust economic corridors connecting each of them. Madam has been kind, and through her we have factored the Talcher corridor, the iron ore corridor, the bauxite corridor to each of our ports, which will give a security of cargo to come in and dispatch from the port at least cost and at efficiencies which are comparable to the best in the world. To sum up, Our ports will be world class in terms of operational efficiency. It will be best in class in terms of having the connectivity so that landed cost of cargo at and from the ports is comparable to the best in the world. At the port, we have industrial regions specific to each area. If it's Paradeep, it's going to be petrochemical. If it's going to be Dhamra, it's going to be defense. It's going to be steel oriented. If it is Gopalpur, it's going to be pharmaceutical. If it is Suvarnarekha and at Astarang, it will be bulk industries. And also some kind of a adventure into transition into green steels. And to open this up, the specific corridors that we speak of. I have 2 minutes to sum up. When besides that, harnessing the oceans, Madam said 575 kilometers of coastline in Odisha, and also the large hinterland where the oceans become source of livelihood, not just for economic activity, for ecological conservation. It is not without a cause that the olive ridley turtles choose to come to Odisha unfailingly year after year. And I always very, very interestingly and passionately say they are the best ambassadors of our maritime development of Odisha. They come unfailingly to Dhamra and to Gopalpur. And also, how do we now link the chain of fishing, fisheries and tourism, and as well as create an employability, which my other colleagues will be speaking on, certainly, and a skill and employability. And Madam, thank you so much for driving the Maritime Academy through a robust tendering process. I'm glad when it is handed over to, I can see Principal Secretary Commerce over here. We'll request his attention also to make these two institutes truly world-class. I will stop over here, sum up. It is infra, it is port-led development, it is robust connectivity, opening up tourism, ecology. I will stop here to pause, aware of the time. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Indeed, ports cannot thrive as a standalone. The hinterland connectivity is very, very important. And in Odisha, Commerce and Transport Department, which is the organizer of this event, has all 4 modes of transportation under one roof. So whether it is railways, road transport, maritime, and as well as the aviation. So I think it is one of the very progressive thought of Government of Odisha to make the department to take care of all the issues. Now I'll go to Shri Ashok Mahapatra. He has been involved with Odisha for quite some time. His rich experience of being part of IMO will be very useful. And some time back, I also read an article in which it is mentioned that the oceans are divided by countries and humankind. But as far as globe is concerned, only one ocean and one humankind. And maybe we have many opportunities. So at this juncture, I'll request Mr. Mahapatra to share his views.
Thank you, Madam. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you on the same panel for the second time. And on this, I will go a little diverse from what Subrat said, primarily because my entire life, my career, everything has been with the oceans. I started off as a below 18-year-old boy who went out to sea, then came into the Government of India and then with the IMO. Why I am saying it is shipping, everybody understands and recognizes that 90% of the world trade moves through sea. But what most people do not realize, apart from it being the cheapest mode of transport and most safest way of transport, per ton, per mile, it is at least 40% less emitted considering the other modes of transport. So if we have to sustain a sustainable equity, we have to bring in shipping. Why I am saying this is, apart from the port-led development, you have got a plethora of inland waterways which can be used for one, decongesting our roads, road infrastructure. Second, sustaining it by having lesser per ton per mile emissions. And then for this, one has to give a very casual look. I'm not saying a very serious look. If you look into shipping regulations, they are probably the most far-reaching regulations that I've come across. It has had a vision ever since the late 60s and has kept modifying itself. It has even gone into having biodiversity, anti-fouling, everything, pollution prevention. Somewhere down the line, we have to bring it in to look at what we can adapt within our inland waterways system. I know that, if I'm not wrong, it is NW5 here in Odisha, is going to become operational, and let's work so that we do it the correct way. And in this, my request to everybody is that we take the local community into confidence, because they are the ones who are going to be the owners of this, not today, but even in future. So let us look at it and get them together and work together. Yes, I'm that both the institutes are going to be modernized. It's very easy to write down the skills that are required at every level. We do not require degrees and such this thing. We require to have people who are competent to do the job they are assigned to. And that can be done in very simple manner. Let's not complicate it. It can be done, and it is going to be very, very cost effective. Let me tell you that, madam. With that, I end, and if there are any questions, I'll take it up.
Thank you so much, Shima Patra. Though we focus on maritime cargo, which is 80% and plus in the globe, somehow inland cargo, which we have not been focusing much. Again, the inland waterways number 5 and also 64 is already in the roadmap. I mean, it's in very advanced stage. And we have already repurposed one of our SPV in Odisha to take care of this entire stretch and go for the PPP or the moot model, where we will be able to involve many other organizations. In the SPV, Dhamra port was part of it, which was belonging to Adani's. They strategically came out of it. They said, we don't want to be there. But the intention was that they will be, as a concessionaire, they will come in, and if I'm allowed to use their slogan, so hum karke dikhate hain. So hopefully the project which have been there in the mind of all the ODIAs since years together will be a reality very soon, I hope, because the central cabinet has already approved the project. The resources have been mobilized. Some external aid also has been finalized, and the industries which are very poised to take over such huge responsibilities already in the mainstream. I'm hopeful that this project will see the light of the day very soon. Now I'll go to Dr. Shishir Shrotriya, who is heading the Maritime Economy and Connectivity Center at RIS Delhi. So based on his experience, and especially on the blue economy, because he also been Counselor of Science and Technology at the Embassy of India in Moscow, and having the global experiences. So you can throw some light on what Odisha should be focusing on blue economy.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Madam, for giving me this time. As far as Odisha is concerned, Odisha was the nerve center of India's maritime glory. You are aware, long time back, the Bali Boita Yatra used to start from here during the time of Kartik Purnima, and it was the green corridor, erstwhile green corridor, which we are now looking at sustainability and so many other issues, and Odisha was the nerve center then. So my talk is going to be largely targeted towards the younger audience who are present here today in large number, and they are, in fact, going to be the workforce which is going to take us back to this maritime glory, keeping Odisha as the nerve center or the central point, which has so much of natural resources and heritage, and to get our maritime glory back. Well, just to look at the context of this theme of this session, which is ports, petroleum, and the maritime corridors, here are some of the maritime corridors which are there on the slide in front of you, some of the very, very important ones. And listed towards the right side of the column is also the typical Indian ports where the main commodities are landing. As you are all aware, Odisha is also central to it, but also central are some of the choke points, and I'm also going to talk a little about these choke points, how important they are, and how important our economy and everything related to that is. So looking at these choke points, this is the picture from IMF Port Watch. You can see these choke points. India International Monetary Fund has got a website called Port Watch. All of you can go onto it and see some of these global trade corridors and do some sort of forecasting, nowcasting, and see what is happening across the world, in the maritime world. And as you are all aware, 90-95% of our trade is through these maritime routes, India's trade. And it's highly important as to we look into this, and especially the startups and the other innovative sector looks into it. Now, looking at the maritime disruptions, you are all aware, I'm not going to talk much about it. This vessel was coming to Kandla, India. But some of these choke points, again from the IMF Port Watch, are captured here. The Straits of Hormuz, the Mandeb, Suez, where the Houthi attacks have been there, and of course the Cape of Good Hope, which is as of now a good hope for the rest of the world because there is no or little trouble there. It's relatively safe currently. Well, coming on to the Straits of Hormuz, since the theme is maritime corridor, this is a snapshot again from the IMF Port Watch, where the vessel traffic, the arrival of ships was captured. There used to be around close to 100 vessels, which has dropped down drastically. Luckily, India has got into a diplomatic kind of agreement with Iran, and some of our vessels are coming to our ports now. Now, if you capture some of these choke points, I will just like to capture the energy trade across it, and the tanker traffic across the Straits of Hormuz, especially for India, is around 60%. LNG and crude oil combined. Just when you talked about the Strait of Hormuz, the light has gone, and so you can look at the disaster is happening here also. I will request the organizers to get it back. So also the other choke points are also very important, which connect India to the other global routes. But what is important is that how do we manage these risks and what we can do to manage these risks. So coming back to the slides, there are some of them which are covered. I will not dwell much into them because they're all there in the news. But how we need to manage and what we need to do is also very important. And one aspect of our risk and marine insurance is the sector of marine insurance. As the speakers and the other participants have been talking about, India has to develop all these allied sectors also. We do not have a PNI club as of now, And our marine insurance industry is very, very primitive, or it is not covering our requirements. If I may tell you a figure, it can be a mind-boggling figure. Some of the defense people are also here. The budget of our three forces, Army, Navy, Air Force combined, capital, revenue, everything included, is close to 80 billion US dollar, 6 lakh crore plus of Indian rupees. Whereas we spend close to 100 billion US dollar every year in our cargo freight charges. And 95% of our cargo is through ocean freight. So this is the mind-boggling figure, which is almost 20% more than our defense budget for the three services we spend in the cargo ocean freight charges, and we do not have this industry developed. So it's all for the youngsters also to look into it. There are careers, there could be careers in this aspect. That's why I'm dwelling onto it, and how important it is to the industry and the global stability. Where Indian economy, since I'm from the center of maritime economy and connectivity, I must stress on these some of these economic shocks which we have been going through. The first one is the Trump TT shock, the Trump tariff shock. The second one, of course, was the Ukraine war. The third is, of course, the ongoing Iran-Israel-US war, the Red Sea crisis. But more importantly, we are talking about the capabilities and capacities. More importantly, it is the shortages of strategic items like the containers. We don't produce, we produce only 30,000 odd containers, whereas we need close to 3 lakh containers as of now. So that's the kind of, and it's a very, very strategic asset. So this is another industry. I saw a startup yesterday and today who is into container mapping and also automating the repairs of the containers and targeting many other points on the container traffic. Similarly, we don't have transshipment capacities. We have limited port capacities. Odisha, of course, has a number of ports. We have 217 non-major ports, out of which a very few are utilized. And you are all aware that to grow our capacities from 3,000 MPTA, which is now, to around 10,000 MPTA, which is for the Viksit Bharat goals, we would require. These capacities cannot be grown at the major ports. They have to be grown at the non-major ports. And I'm glad that Adani and many other companies are looking at it. So now I come to these answers, which are very important for the country as well as the startups, and what the startups can do into many of these aspects. Many of these aspects are covered in a very, very limited way in the slides, but you can meet me later on and and look at our center's research also. We released a report at the India Maritime Week in October 2025. It is there on the net. It's a 400-page report covering the complete sector and the vision, and it is for the entrepreneurs and for the people who are wanting to indulge into this sector. This sector, just if I may tell you, gives you a aspirational value of 1 trillion. 1 trillion of investment is required to reach our Viksit Bharat goals, which is 25% of our economy size as of today. And if you use the multiplier effect, it can grow as big as our GDP, only the maritime economy. So that's the sector which is there in front of you. And this slide is a snapshot of capturing that where all you can indulge yourself, where all you can have your use cases, especially the younger generation. You can develop these use cases in many of these verticals. And my request to BCKIC, I was speaking to the CEO, to develop a sort of a data bank of use cases across these pillars and verticals, so that we can have a structured mechanism or a structured way to lead these technology-led strategic maritime India vision, especially for Odisha, or driven from here. So that's about all I would like to cover. In the end, I would like to just say that that the brainwave which you guys have, the moment it realizes that you are water, or you are the water, you are as infinite as the ocean. So try and capture your infinite capabilities and capacities, and you will lead Odisha and India to the maritime glory which we had. We were the maritime power in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for inspiring those young minds. I was seeing the time, around 8 minutes 44 seconds are left. So we will be going to Dr. Shime Yodan. Am I pronouncing it right? Okay, is to share your experiences, especially as a research fellow. And we understand that the geopolitics, which is like, we never thought it will have so much of impact. So geopolitics, then the climate change, which is again across the sector, and also the technology. So these three things which brings a lot of change and whatever we do in policy space. So we have to keep these three verticals into our mind. So considering that, you can share your thoughts as briefly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I thought I'll discuss or share slightly different approach, take a slightly different approach because since being a research, maybe I'll share a research point of view. And especially because I focus mainly on the maritime infrastructure, how climate change is on the critical maritime infrastructure, and what are the approaches and what are the ways that we need to look into it. And if we look at the port are backbone of the global trade, as we know, yet today climate change is emerging as one of the significant risks facing port infrastructure and operations worldwide. And sea level rise, storm surges, extreme weather events like extreme rainfall, heat states are impacting. It's not a distant projection, it's impacting on the port infrastructure and operations as well. So these climate impacts are visible across the entire port system, from the seaside to the port side and also the hinterland side. Because when we talk about port, port is not a isolated system because it's integrated from the seaside to hinterland, as Mem has already mentioned. So we have to look into that. At the seaside, sea level rise and storm surges place an increasing pressure on the critical infrastructure, such as navigational channels, jetties, and breakwaters. I did a study on assessing climate risks on the seaport infrastructure and operations in India, taking major port authorities, seaport authorities. I have done a study, a field visit in Paradeep, Visakhapatnam port, and then Mumbai JNPT. What I understood is most of the port authorities do not see sea level rise as a challenge or risk to the port operations and infrastructure. But what they understand is that sea level is something that is going to contribute to, or like going to, it provides an opportunity because it's then it will provide a larger draft. But then what they don't see is how it's going to impact on the jetties, because the jetties are fixed in a fixed structure which you have to raise it. If you have to raise the jetty, your whole system will impact. So in that case, because even in the port side, because they're like there are some cases during the cyclone Hudud and also the cyclone Amphan, how port operations or even the infrastructure had been impacted. In the Vizag, because of the cyclone Hudud, most of the oil jetty has been damaged, and to restore that jetty, it took almost 3 years. And also the restoration, the cost also is quite huge. In that case, I think when we, because since Odisha has mentioned they have planned to expand their port from 3 to 14. So before we even plan those, we need to, what we need to understand, we need to do a risk assessment and also take account of the climate projections from all vast climate projections from sea level, cyclones, and also the heat into the design code. Most of the design code are based on I think it's based on the future past projections, not on the future projections. So that is something that we need to take into account. And also we know that ports are inherently coastal asset, and their infrastructure is designed to last for decades. However, much of the infrastructure was built on the historical climate conditions. As climate pattern changes, many of the ports are now finding that these design thresholds are increasingly being exceeded. So how do we account those into the design, and how do we bring those challenges at the policy level? And also, one important thing is that ports are not isolated pieces as of infrastructure, as I have highlighted. So one of the projects that currently I'm working with the CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and Kyoto University, is we are trying to understand the trying to create a framework for assessing systemic risks of seaport ecosystem, trying to look from the physical and infrastructure, socio-economic and cultural, and also the economic and financial and environment and ecological systems, and political and governance. So we are trying to map all these 5 systems across the port infrastructure and try to understand, do we have a policy at the national level? Do we have a vision? Do we have funding? Do we have an insurance policy in place? And trying to understand how each of these systems would be impacted or disrupted during a given cyclone or given a hazard. For example, if there's a cyclone Hutut that has impacted the port jetties or navigational channels, how would it cascade into the subsequent impact? So we are looking into the first order of impact, second order of impact, and third order of impact. Within that, we also try to assess what are the resilience level of those port systems or port authorities. Do they have a redundant policy? Do they have a measurement in place? Do they have funding accounted in the policy? So we look into different aspect of it, looking from the systemic risks of seaport ecosystem. And also one of the important challenge is adaptation measures. Most of the port right now currently look mostly into the mitigation policy, where they try to focus mainly on the sustainability of it, where the port sees that how do we reduce our impact on the environment, but rather they most of the port fails to look into how climate change would impact the port operation and infrastructure. What are the measures they need to look into? As we understand that port infrastructure or adaptation infrastructure are rather costly. So what are the alternative approach is something that we need to look into, trying to bring mostly nature-based solution. How do we conserve mangrove forests, introducing mangrove forests as a nature-based solution, or like if not a hard, or then we can come up with a hybrid solution, both engineering solution and also the mangrove solution. How can we work with those aspects is also something that is important. Thank you. Maybe I'll discuss furthermore. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm extremely sorry for cutting many of you short because of the time limitation. We have already almost exhausted our time. I don't know how it flies off, this is how we realize that we should be ahead of the time always to do something. Now I'll go to Professor Njana. He's Campus Director of Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University. And incidentally, as a skill secretary, I had been there, and I try to understand the ecosystem so that we can also, we also wanted to have a skill university of that sort, which is like hands-on. Of course, in maritime, we have 2 institutions which has been recently taken over by one of the biggest port operators, and I hope that they will be able to do much there and bring the efficiency of the private sector. So considering the Odisha's opportunities, I would like request you to share your views.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And the respectable members on the dais and the audiences. And it is really a wonderful opportunity to share my views, such a wonderful gathering audiences here. I am Narendra Jena. I am the campus director and a professor of Delhi Skill Entrepreneurship University. It is a Delhi State Government University, and we are providing the practical-based education in terms of logistics, supply chain management, and international business management. I have understood the whole discussions over here, and I am now categorizing into 3 parts. Let us understand our country. Second is economy, and third is infrastructure. India is a very vast and a beautiful country. This is a beautiful country not because of the population of 147 crores as of now, because this is the highest democratic country in the world now. very beautiful country. And if you see the economy, after independence from 1947 till to 2000, almost 50 years, 53 years, we just gained 1 trillion economy only. And from 2000 to 2014, we have gained another 1 trillion economy. And 14 to 19, added another 1 trillion economy. Now India is progressing, flourishing, rapidly progressing. All across the world, if you see, India is the number one in terms of progress, growth, and prosperity. Now we are at a 4.19 trillion economy, and by our knowledge, progress, India is going to become a 43.18 trillion economy by 2047. India will become Make in India, Atma Bharat India, Vishwaguru India, and Viksit Bharat India by 2047. It is a fact. That is the reason everybody has to contribute very significantly. As Mahapatra sir said very recently, a country is really prosperous if the business, international business, domestic business, and maximum business takes through sea routes, using our coastal shipping, using our meticulous, diligent way, usage of our ports, seaports. But what I understood from Dr. Edun, good research she has made, because our port inefficiency in India is very huge, very large. Because of port inefficiency, Indian ports are not getting Cape-size vessels, bigger size of vessels. Those are vessels having carry capacity of more than 2.5 lakh tons cargo. They are called as mother vessels. They are not coming to India because of our port inefficiency, low drafts, that is 11.5 meter, 12 meter, 14 meter drafts, where Cape-size vessel requires more than 18 meters drafts. Only two ports in India, that is Mundra port and Dhamra port in Odisha, they are only capable to accommodate Cape-size vessels. You can understand, it is such a prosperity country, and because of our port inefficiency, all mother vessels are coming to the hub ports only, like Dubai, Jebel Ali, Singapore, Colombo. These are the bigger ports where all mother vessels are coming, and again from mother vessels, we are getting cargo shifted through daughter vessels to India. So in that process and progression, our government of India is taking all vibrant projects now. Bharatmala, Sagarmala, dedicated freight corridors, all vibrant projects are in the pipeline. By making all the projects into picture, India's growth and prosperity in the coming days is very, very bright and brilliant. My sincere request to every members also here, Odisha members up here, that everybody has to contribute a lot to making the Odisha ports are more significant. Because only two ports, that is Dhamra and Adani port in Mundra, this again is a private ports. No government ports is capable to handle Cape-size vessels as on today, after the independence of 75 years. So Paradip port, Gopalpur port, these are the ports, these are the major ports. India is having 12 major ports and 241 minor ports. But no government ports is capable to handle Cape-size vessel, Panamax vessel, Supramax vessel in a very adequate manner. That is the reason everybody has to work very hard and contribute a lot, most significantly to make our Viksit Bharat 2046 as a grand success. Thank you. Thanks a lot from my side.
Thank you so much. We have already exhausted the time given. I think we started a little late. Maybe I'll take the advantage of that. We'll take one or two questions, and I'll request some of the speakers spoke very less, and they have given some time for others, so they can also take the questions, one or two. And I'll request that all the audience who are sitting here, they may be thinking of raising some questions or some suggestions, remarks based on the discussions today, or for that matter yesterday. I request that you must be having a scribbling pad, so please give your thoughts and suggestions in writing, because all would not be getting the opportunity of speaking here. So that the organizers, I'll request them to collect these suggestions. One or two volunteers can go and collect after this session. And I am sure that the panelists who are not able to share their experiences of the limitation of the time. You know that such session will have such limitation always. So during the lunch, if you'll be able to catch up with them, that would also be nice. Maybe 1 or 2 questions very quickly if we can take. And now onwards, so whoever the questioner is, he or she will be responsible for delay in the lunch. I am not responsible. Okay? So just raise your hand quickly. 2 questions I'll take, and then maybe I'll allocate it to the panelist.
I have a question.
Just raise your hand. I'm not
Yes.
able to see. Which side?
Yeah, this side.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, please. You have the
Thank you
mic
very
there.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. People with beautiful mind and golden hearts creates golden creation in this world. Everyone, I think, believe on this. I have a question to all the panelists and Odisha government, everyone, on behalf of 4.5 CR people of the state. The first question is that, can we check the distress migration and all this migration because of this port-led development in our state? Another thing, can we create job calendar for the people of the state, for the youth of the state, as we are going to create all these corridors?
Okay. So one more, because 2 questions though he asked. One more. One women? Only women? No, only women. Anybody? So I'll request maybe Mr. Subrat and Dr. Mahapatra can take those 2. First you start and then maybe. So one is about employment, another is about the migration. So
Whichever you wish to take.
okay.
Talking about migration,
Just speak to the mic, otherwise you take this.
talking about migration, there is no question of stopping migration. Migration has been a part of human history. Let's get that. What I think you're trying to imply is getting employment and generation of employment within the state. And I think by this process, we can create an atmosphere in which people would rather stay here and work because they are far more comfortable staying here than working overseas. Means I'm telling you from my experience, my entire working life was outside Odisha. I left in 1973 and I came back in 2018. But why did I come back? Because I feel comfortable here. So there will be a lot of people who will feel comfortable. Once we make those opportunities available, definitely I'm sure people would like to stay here and work with the same kind of lifestyle what they would have done. I'm not only going overseas, but even migrating to places like Bombay and all. If you look at when you go to Bombay, people are spending at least 3 to 4 hours in commuting. You're not going to have that here. So your quality of life is going to become better. So let us create that environment, then people will automatically like to work here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I can only lend cause to what Madam and Captain Mahapatra have already mentioned. I think the question is very pointed about migration, especially, let's say, from South Odisha. I'll not dwell on that. But it is intertwined to what I will answer. It's about creating employment opportunities, so which will also arrest a lot of migration. Port-led development is not merely about port as a gateway. It is port as standing as a mascot for immediate hinterland development adjoining the port, such as, if you take the example, as I told you, around the world, if you look at the Chinese manufacturing revolution and how jobs were created and how China integrates itself into the world supply chain and becomes a factory of the world, can we recreate that in Odisha? Yes. Do we have the conditions? Yes. Do we have a supporting infra? It is happening. Do we have policy and regulatory framework? Yes. Do we have the skill sets? Yes. What is it? We'll have to now put all this into a working order as to connect all the dots, to take a very interesting managerial reference from Steve Jobs. How do we connect the dots to make this into a working whole? Let's look at Paradeep. It has become a petrochemical hub. Next step is to create downstreaming petroleum industries, which will have an ability to absorb a lot of our skilled engineers and diploma holders into a specific petrochemical and steel hub. What is it about Dhamra? Defense manufacturing, minor steel plants, containerization to look into the far east, that is northeast of India, eastern states, and a gateway for agricultural products from Uttar Pradesh to this. So there, warehousing, manufacturing, and the entire cold chain, they're all integrated together. If I were to go a little down and look at Astarang, which I believe is just waiting to happen, connect it into the energy security, that is transportation of coal is the least, and create industries in and around that. If I call to Gopalpur and Bahauda, which I look at as one, it is where pharmaceutical hubs can come about, and also manufacturing for downstream bauxite, which is in South Odisha, especially Rayagada, Kalahandi, Korafut, and creating the economic corridor, which Madam has helped, and now Principal Secretary Commerce is also taking this up, and Government of Odisha is very keen. Once we create what we call the Biju High Expressway from Rayagada, Gopalpur into Gopalpur Port, and along the economic corridor at every 50 kilometers, have a land bank of 300 acres to create minor manufacturing industry. That is the way to go for Odisha to create employment. When you do all this in one whole, then put the skilling part, of which maritime skilling will come from Paradeep and Chandbali and other skilling. In short, this is the larger picture that we are painting. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. As I said, ocean has challenged the humankind since immemorial. And these oceans, the boundaries open the opportunities for the entire humankind. They are gateway for India to connect to the world. So if we say that Vasudeva Kutumbakam, I think the maritime is the one which actually fit into that, where it connects every country and each one of us. So very quickly, just to close the session, in context of Odisha and being in the policy space, I must say whatever has been told by the panelist, strengthening multimodal connectivity, especially for hinterland, ports and inland industrial region is very, very important. Again, as a IDCO, I am also responsible. Maybe I will assure the industries who are present here that we will try to have those type of corridors and land parcels so that we can exploit those opportunities for the benefit of ODIA community. Then second is, again, as it has been told about being proactive in sustainable shipping, sustainable maritime activities, not as a mitigation measure, but being proactive about creating resilient infrastructure, having a green and digital ports. That is what the second thing which I would like to flag as it has come out in this panel. The third is about building port-based economic ecosystem, where we have talked about logistic, industry, energy in our vision document. And fortunately, Odisha has that fiscal headway now and the fiscal space where we can invest. So without asking too many questions and are being skeptical about our own self, I think we have to invest hugely into this infrastructure which makes the port-led development possible, where the blue economy will be integral part of it. Recently, we attended, I think some of our colleagues also attended, the India Maritime Week in Mumbai, where Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated. And during that time, he mentioned something which may have a resounding effect here. In a turbulent global water, India is a steady lighthouse. As a country, we are ready to contribute to the stability and growth in the global maritime system. So this is where India is poised to become the lighthouse, and maybe this event be the leading light for this. And all the contributors, all the audience, all the panelists who are here, I thank each one of you. And as I always say that agar irade nek to manzil asman. So maybe we have to reach to the sky if we have a good intention. So all of us here, I'm sure everybody has that passion in them, that fire in them, so that will help the country to grow and also Odisha to become the star in the eastern India. Once again, for giving this opportunity, a big thanks to organizers and also all the panelists who have tried to capsule the 30, 40 years of their experiences into 10 minutes slot. So once again, thanks everyone, and also the big applause to the audience who heard us very patiently. Thank you, everyone. Jai
Thank
Hind.
you. Thank you so much.
On behalf of the panelists, on behalf of the House, and on behalf of BCKIC, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to ma'am for coming and sharing the session, and as usual, guiding. And yes, thank you for the assurance on behalf of, as chairman of IDCO, assurance for India. As a platform department which on duty. So give her a big hand, please, everybody. And I think, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you to all our panelists. I'll request Principal Secretary, Commerce and Transport Department, Government of Odisha, Shri NBS Rajput, along with Dr. Mrityunjay, Chairman, BCKIC, to please join on stage and felicitate our session chair and all our panelists with a token of appreciation. I'll request Principal Secretary, Commerce and Transport, Shri NBS Rajput ji, to first present a token of appreciation to our session chair for wonderfully moderating this session, Srimati Usha Padhi, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Odisha, Chairperson IDCO.
And full marks to the beautiful computer for excellently holding it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. A big round of applause. Come on, I mean, we can be a little generous in our applause. To Shri Subrat Tripathi, President, Business Development, Adani Group. To all our panelists, in fact, Shri Ashok Mahapatra ji, former Director, Maritime Safety Division, International Maritime Organization. We have Dr. Shishir Shrotriya, Coordinator and Head Center for Maritime Economy and Connectivity, New Delhi. We had heard from Professor N. Jana, Campus Director, Delhi Skill and Entrepreneurship University. And of course, we were also very happy to have with us Dr. Chimay Yudon, Head of Blue Economy National Maritime Foundation. Very, very privileged to have each one of you here with us today. And of course, a group photograph. Thank you so much to our session chair and all our panelists once again. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard of something called short and sweet. So that's what we are going to do next. Our lunch break is going to be short and sweet. So we'll request everybody to kindly join by 2:30 so that in the main hall, because we'll be starting with the startup pitch session. We are running slightly behind schedule and we would like to catch up as quickly as we can. So kindly reassemble in the main hall by 2:30 as we start the pitch session for our startups. Thank you so much.